Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video. And I would like to welcome all of you into this really long and hopefully really long Next.js course. I wouldn't be calling it as a Next.js crash course because it's not a crash course. It doesn't just give you overview, but it's a real world production grade application that you can deploy and can use in the real world. This application is specially designed in such a way that it provides you a path to learn Next.js absolutely from scratch. I'll give you the prerequisite as well, but the goal was not to just teach Next.js, but to teach it in certain way that you feel absolutely confident about building application using Next.js. I want to lay down the entire architecture of Next.js in such a easy manner that you feel that it's like a walk in the park. No longer afraid of being app directory and source directory and all those jargons, you will be able to dive deep into the actual documentation of the Next.js. If you find any problem, you will be able to tweak it out. Now, this application is decently complex, so we need to pick up a tech stack. I will choose that. I will also give you the prerequisites and everything that is required. I'm pretty sure you're excited to build this application with me. This application, one more very important thing, this application will lay as a foundational block of some of my upcoming tutorials in the future, as well as if you are trying to make any application which is really complex in Next.js, this will lay down a solid foundation for you. So everything is all set up and I'm pretty sure you're all excited about getting started with the Next.js along with me. This is going to be one of the best ride, and again, trust me, you will have so much of confidence. That's my goal. Bring confidence in you so that you can build application. And again, even if you are not that much confidence in building a full stack application, no worries. I'm here. I'll walk you through with each and every word that we are going to write. No copy pasting of the code. We'll be writing everything down and I'll explain you every single logic that is required for that. So I hope you're excited for that. Now first, let me tell you what are the tech stack and what are the prerequisite for that. Let's start with the prerequisite. Now, this entire Next.js application is built in TypeScript. But again, if you're not much familiar with the TypeScript, that is totally okay. I am not using any crucial part of the TypeScript, which is making it just for TypeScript people. If you know JavaScript, that is also fine. You will be able to understand 100% of the code. So there is no too much higher dependency of the TypeScript. If you know it, that's great. Otherwise, I do have a series on TypeScript as well. You can watch that. Otherwise, it's not that much of a hard and fast requirement. On top of that, Next.js is a framework which is built on top of a library known as React.js, everybody's favorite. Now, React.js is amazing, but I don't expect that you have 100% knowledge of React.js. If you know how to just use a simple use state, use effect, and just can write some buttons in the React.js, that is all. That is all. But if you don't know even that much, that's also totally fine. I'll still try to explain you some of the bits and pieces of it. But I would certainly say that the experience of React.js would be super helpful in this series. And that is it. Now, I don't expect you to have too much knowledge on the backend part. I just expect you have heard about some of the backends and stuff. This would be also a great starting guide for you to understand about the database that we'll be using, which will be MongoDB in this case. Everything that we are writing in this entire example and this entire app is fully productionable. So you will be able to put all of your application into the cloud and you will be able to serve the users and everything. Not only that, this application will be available to you on the GitHub, not just to simply watch and see it, but actually to contribute in that. I am deliberately not touching too much on the styling part of this application. I'm keeping it very raw so that you can bring in your Tailwind experience and can contribute in this repository. The functionality of this app will be 100% working, but the UI part, you can modify it as much as you like. I'll keep it open-ended so that you can focus more on this. Remember, this is a Next.js course, not a Tailwind course. So I'll keep your Tailwind side on totally you so that you can bring your knowledge and can contribute in this application. Remember, don't fall into the tutorial hell. You need to contribute something in this as well. All right, I hope you're excited. Now, bringing in about the tech stack side, that what is the tech stack that we'll be using? Let me walk you through with that. So the tech stack that we'll be using is absolutely simple. There is nothing too much to be scared about that. First thing, we obviously will be using Next.js. Together, we'll be reading a lot of documentation so that you can actually learn that what it takes to read the documentation, bring the code from documentation and write along with it. So this is the first thing that we'll be doing, and we'll be using app router, absolutely latest, as modern as possible. We'll be firing up npx create next app latest so we can pull in the latest of the Next.js. Apart from this, for the database side, we'll be using MongoDB, and we'll be using MongoDB in the cloud. The only thing that I don't like about it, it's too white. It should have a dark mode, but sadly I couldn't find it. So we'll be using and creating a new cluster. I'll walk you through from the scratch that how to create a database and how to use it. And apart from this, since we are building up an authentication system, I'll walk you through what we are building in a minute, but we will be needing some kind of a mail service. Now, one of the production grade mail service is a Mailtrap. I'm not affiliated with them, but I have been using them for a while for teaching purposes. I found it pretty interesting. Instead of just exposing your Gmail and firing up email from that, that's not a good idea. Use professional tools, and Mailtrap is one of the many such tools that you can use. So I'll be using this one. So apart from this, I'll be using a little bit of Excalidraw, everybody's favorite, to just draw some diagrams and explain you the stuff. All right, so this is all what we'll be doing. First, let's dive into the theoretical part and what we are about to build. So what we're about to build is pretty simple. So first and foremost, we'll be having this screen, and this one is going to be a simple sign up screen. Now, this is not going to be any ordinary sign up screen. In the world of Next.js, you obviously cannot just rely on the front end part. We surely will have front end part. We need a back end part as well. I'll talk about that in a second. So now, apart from this, we'll be having a simple login screen as well. So what we're building basically is a user authentication system. Now, since in the latest, a lot of upcoming tutorials will require this authentication system, so we have a proper course here which explains you everything about what happens, what goes in the authentication system, as much as in the core way possible. All right. So we have a sign up, we have a login, and apart from this, once we have the sign up and the login, we will also have a profile section. Now, this profile section will have a couple of pages. Again, we'll not focus about what we are serving on the profile. We're more concerned about how we can actually read through the profile. If there is a unique ID with the user associated with that, how can I grab that unique ID from the URL? There's so much to explore about this. So this is going to be a basic application where user will be able to sign up, log in, and profile. That's all. But there are also cases where user might also request you a couple of more features. So we'll be designing them. I'll walk you through with the scenario of how we can actually go ahead and reset the password, or maybe also verify. So user account needs to verify as well. So we'll be working on the functionality of reset and verify. Once you understand even one part of it, the next part is super easy to understand. I'll walk you through with that scenario as well. How to reset the password, how to verify the user. So all of this functionality, we'll be taking it down. It's absolutely a core of any application that you'll be building. So we'll be working on that part. And after this, I'll keep it a little bit open-ended so that there is enough space that you can contribute in that part. All right, so hope that is good. And I'll just write the tech stack here as well so that we don't get any troubles or problem in it. So we'll be using Next.js. I know that's very small. I don't like even the small fonts and stuff. I always keep them big, easy to watch in the tutorial. For the backend part, we'll be using MongoDB. So we'll be going with the MongoDB. Now, of course, we'll be needing a few of the stuff since we are on the MongoDB. We'll be going with the Mongoose. We'll be going with the node mailer as well. And a couple of more things will be there, like I'll be using React, Hot Toast, and all these things. I'll not configure them properly. I'll leave them as a simple exercise for you, but don't worry, we'll get enough of the messages and everything for us. So again, it will be super fun to work on with that. All right, so this is majorly the tech stack that we'll be going through. So I think that is it. That is all what we'll be going. Of course, I'll walk you through how we can configure the Mailtrap and stuff. Now let's first start not by creating anything, but actually to understand the theory about it. Now the theory is actually very, very amazing here. So let me just walk you through. So first and foremost, just understand that everything in Next.js has changed. Any tutorial that you're watching which is older is no longer going to work. So you need to really understand this part. Now, everything that you work on with this now actually goes inside the source directory. So consider this as this is my source directory. So this is the source directory where you'll be working. Inside the source, you're going to find that there is a directory known as app. So this is our app. Let's explore this. So this app directory has a couple of things inside it. The first part, in fact, if I bring this app directory here and try to explain you that how does this app directory actually goes. This app directory can easily be divided into two portions of it. The first portion goes here, second portion goes here. The first part, you can easily call this one as backend. And yes, there will be a lot of people who will try to explain it with the meaning of, is it a server component? Is it a client component? Yes, we'll go through with that. We'll understand the difference of it, but not right now. they are much more easier to understand in this way and context. So we have this backend and we have got this frontend. So this is all that goes into this app directory, and this app directory is obviously a part of this source. So go ahead and let's just go ahead and have an arrow just like this. So we have this source. But apart from this app, you will also find that it's not just everything goes into the app directory. Some things goes outside of the app directory as well. For example, most of the time when I design my models, you can absolutely place these models outside of the app directory. Not just the models, we'll also keep some of our helper files. For example, I want to shoot an email. I want to verify my tokens, JWT tokens. Yes, we'll be using them. So how that works, we'll be keeping them outside as well. All right, this is the whole gist of everything. Let me summarize that quickly. Now, in the latest of Next.js, you'll find everything is inside the source directory, and inside the source directory, you have this app. App has two portions of it, the backend part and the front end part of it. But it's not like everything goes inside the app directory. There are other files you can obviously create, like models, helpers, components. There's so many of the files that you can create, which can rely and reside outside the app directory. Now, more notoriously, you'll see, not notoriously, but yeah, more of the time you'll see that the backend portion is actually written inside the API folder. And yes, the naming convention is super, super important in the Next.js. Even a slightest wrong thing in the naming convention will just create a havoc in the folder. Remember, this is a framework. Whenever we talk about framework, there are rules and regulation you have to follow. Usually these rules and regulation comes with the variables names, or maybe how the process needs to work, how the response needs to send, how the app directory should work out. So all these things need to go hand in hand. Now, you'll find a common thing as well, that whenever you're writing most of the part in the APIs and the backend, you're using file name as route. And in case of the front end part, you're actually using the file name with the name of page. It could be page.tsx, it could be page.ts, usually tsx. And route is usually route.either js or either ts, whatever you're using. We'll be using TypeScript, so we'll be calling it as a route.ts, and here the page. So I hope now this diagram makes it so much clear that how things are going to go and how things actually work. Now, apart from this, there are certain files which also needs to be inside this app directory and how this actually goes and work on. Now, one of the most important thing that you'll be looking up for is, notice this. This is what the meaning of app. But hey, there is a very common file which you'll be using a lot, which is known as middleware. Where does the middleware looks like? It's inside the source directory, but it's not inside the app directory. Yep, that's how usually the configuration is. There are other files and folders you can have, middleware, just like the middleware is here. You can have your customized error pages, lots of other pages, which I'll walk you through with the documentation as well. You need to put it a little bit outside. So let me walk you through with the documentation as well. So let's just say we want to understand about the middleware. Right now, we don't understand too much the working part of it. But if I go ahead and look for it, notice here, this is the middleware. And here's the convention, use the middle page. And notice here, for example, the same level as page or app or inside the source if applicable. So as I told you, it's actually inside the source. Everything is inside the source, but it doesn't need to be inside the app directory. This is where it confuses a lot of people. But don't worry, I'll walk you through with every single thing, how to read the docs and everything, how to even see and utilize. We'll be utilizing this exact piece of code. So you don't have to worry even a tiny bit for that part. All right. So this is all the basics that we have done, and we have understood the basics meanings of how the things are being done. Now let's go ahead and create with that. I have already created an account on MongoDB Atlas. You also need to do this. So let's go ahead and start. I have actually removed everything from scratch. We're going to be getting with there. So just click on build a database, and I'll be using AWS, but I'll be using free one. I'll not pay money. This is YouTube. I'm teaching for free, so I think this should also be free. So I'll be choosing a location which is nearby to me. And where is nearby to me? I think Mumbai is the nearest looking for me. And yes, I'm from India. So I think that's it. And create this. This usually takes a couple of minutes to spin. So go ahead and be a little patient about that. I also want to create a user and a password. So I'll actually do this later on. And connect from IP address and all of this. So we'll be doing that manually. So I think we'll not use this quick start of the security guide. I'll just walk you through. This is actually way better to explain if I go ahead and explain everything in a much precise and easier way. So there we go. Our cluster is created. Now, first thing that you have to do is go up here, and let me just go ahead and show you this. So, all right, I'll just shrink myself a little bit, move here. All right. So first thing that you have to do is look up into this security thing. So this security thing is super important. First, go ahead and click on network access here. This network access simply means to say that from where your application should be available. Your application is maybe on Vercel. Your database might be in AWS. Should they talk to each other or not? So in this case, I have given access to all of this. So you can just go ahead and also click on add IP address. You can either add your current IP address, but since you are not on a permanent IP, your IP as soon as your router shutdowns and reboots, it might change. So in this case, just for an example, this is not a production level setting. We can go ahead and say 0.0.0.0 and /0, which means I want everybody to be able to access my database if they have correct ID and password. Again, there is one more layer, which is ID and password, so that needs to be there. I can confirm this, and this will add. There's nothing to add. Then go ahead and click on database access, that who can access your database. Right now, we don't have any user. So I'll click on add user, and I'll add a simple sample user with the name of YouTube. And I'll enter a password. And again, you really need to be careful about what you're using as your password. If you use any special character, that might be URL encoded or might create some issues in that. So be careful about that. The usual practice is to use numbers and letters. That's all. And what we're going to do is we will be also adding a built-in role. So click on that drop down, and we'll be selecting read and write to any database right now. And I'll just click on add user. So this will simply add a user which can actually talk to any of the database. Now that is it. That is all you have to do. Now click on the database, and all you have to do is click on this connect, and it will give you this compass. Click on the compass again, and this is the URL that you want to copy. So just click up here, it will copy it. Now notice here carefully that if you go ahead and carefully look onto this one, this actually gives you the username but doesn't gives you the password. So password is something that you have already given there. So go ahead and use that one. I'll just close this one. That is all the requirement here for having this. Now let's just go ahead and move on to the Next.js homepage, and we'll be creating a new project here. So I'll just go ahead and open up a folder. So this is the folder that we are using. I already built this app, obviously, otherwise why would I be recording a tutorial? So I'll be calling this one as auth Next.js, and this one is for YouTube. So I'll be just grabbing this one. Let me fire up my VS Code. There we go, VS Code, here we are. And I'll just go ahead and just fire this up here. And let's create a Next.js app. All right, so this looks good. Full real estate. All right, let me go ahead back up here and just click on this small command which says npx create next app. Very nicely hidden there. I'll just go on to VS Code and we'll start that. So I'll just go ahead and open this up and just paste it up here. And I guess the dot command still works if I want to install everything here. Let's go ahead and try this out. And I'll just put up a dot to just create a project in this same directory. And it will ask us a couple of things. Do you want to use TypeScript? Obviously, I want to use it. Let me also move myself a little bit onto the perfect place. All right, looks good. Looks good. Okay, do you want to use ESLinting for this one? So obviously I want to use ESLinting. So I'll just go ahead, move it up here. And let me just, all right, just give me a second. All right, so we want to use ESLinting. Yes, we want to use ESLinting. Do you want to Tailwind? Yes, maybe you can contribute with the Tailwind a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and yes. Do you want to use the source directory with this project? We want to use the source directory or we want to use the app directory. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused. Yes, we want to use source directory because as I mentioned up here, the source directory is now everything. Remember this source? Yep, source is everything. And this will also give you the app directory. So moving back, yes, we want to use it. You want to use app router? 100% you want to use app router. This is the way forward. So anything that you're learning from now onwards, you want to use app router. I'll just hit enter. Would you like to customize the default import alias? Usually no, but I'll show you that if you write yes, what actually happens. If you go ahead and select yes, it gives you two options. You can use @ or you can use asterisk. for showing where is the home of this home directory. So we'll be using @, which is also the default. And then it will just create a simple project in your application, in your folder, not your application. So this doesn't usually take much of the time, should be really, really fast. And yeah, mostly all the things are installed. All right, so there we go. Okay, let's clean this up. First, let's understand the directory structure, which I was telling you. So notice here in the source, we can see there is the app directory, and inside this, all the files are there. We have the page.tsx, which is always the common file. There is also a layout, which is also a wrapper. And inside the layout, we actually get the page. So notice here, if I just show you, this is a wrapper. So everything that you are passing in as a children, the whole job of this is to just render this. If I go ahead and move it to next line, it's much more easier to understand. So this layout is nothing. It's just a wrapper. Maybe you have a common navigation bar. Maybe you have a common footer. So all this can be actually injected into the layout, and then children, whatever is being passed on, it just renders it as it is. So that's the basic meaning of how the layout actually works. Page.ts is the way how we deal with the front end part of it, and most of the client side or the client rendering we'll be doing through this. I'll show you the difference between the client side and the server side in the Next.js. You don't have to worry in that part. Absolutely simple and basic. I will go with that. So we'll close this one. This is the basics of it. Now inside this app directory, there is so much that you can go ahead and work on with this, and we will surely be doing that in just a second. First, let's open the package.json, and you can see in order to run this, we have to say npm run dev, which will run the next dev, which is, let me tell you, is painfully slow, not low, painfully slow application to run. So if I go ahead and say npm run dev, this looks like it's faster, but it's not. So I'll just copy this and go back onto the browser, and I'll start this, and you'll notice every time it takes build, the first build is painfully slow, but this is how you get your application. All right. Now, it's not just that we will be just working with these dependencies only. We actually have some of our own dependencies as well, which will be super helpful for us in the future. So we'll be first installing them. Installing them is super easy. You can just go ahead and say npm install. The first package that we'll be using is Axios. Yes, you can use fetch as well, but I want to give you the taste of how things actually work in the production, but feel free to use fetch. There is no such hard fast rule. Then we have bcrypt, bcrypt.js. Now bcrypt.js is a library which is used commonly to encrypt the stuff. We'll be encrypting our password. Obviously, we don't want to store the clear text password in our database. Not only that, for creating the tokens as well. If you remember, I told you just a few minutes ago that, hey, we'll be using this middleware models and helpers, and they will be useful to reset and verify the tokens. We don't want to send ABCD. We want to send a really long strings, which is encrypted, to the user. So for that, we'll be using the bcrypt.js. It's a super simple and amazing library for this one. Now, apart from this, we'll be sending the tokens, and securely we'll be sending it, not to be stored in the local storage, but we'll be sending and securing the cookies from the server side so that it doesn't get manipulated on the front end side. For this, we'll be needing a JSON web token. So JSON web token, this is the library that we use for that. Now, after that, we'll be using Node Mailer. This is one of the most simplest library to shoot out an email. Either you want to send it or shoot it out from the Gmail, or if you have something else like AWS, maybe Bluehost, whatever you're using, you can just go ahead and use the Node Mailer for that. Now, another library which I'll not be setting it up, but I'll give it to you for as an exercise is this React Hot Toast. This is one of my favorite library, which works really amazingly well. It actually gives you small pop-up messages that, hey, a user successfully signed up, a user didn't sign up. So we'll be using that. I'll not be using it, so you can skip it at this moment, but it will be super good for you to contribute further down the road. All right, so I guess this is all that we need as of now. If we'll be needing something else, we can just, oh, I forgot one guy, which is Mongoose, how we are going to talk to the database. Now, Mongoose is a library which helps you to talk to MongoDB. It's a wrapper around MongoDB drivers, makes our life a little easier. So we'll be using that. Now, one thing a lot of you who are coming from the backend development might be noticing, I'm not using Express. You don't need it. You don't need it in the Next.js. This is all what we'll be using. So go ahead and install that. If we'll need any more library, we can go ahead and use it later on. I think this is more than enough for as of now. And further down the road, let's go ahead and work on with this. Okay, so Couple of things, I'll mention it straightforward. I'll be creating a couple of directories first and foremost so that you get a feel of how the directories and all of this is laid out, because notice already you can see the source and then app, then all the things are inside the app, but it is too difficult to see. I'll show you in the part here. So if I go ahead into Next.js, notice inside the source, everything is inside the app, but here the structure, the directory structure of the VS Code might confuse some of the people. So everything is inside the app. All right, I'll show you more of this as well. Now let's go ahead and create a couple of more folders and directories and stuff like that. First and foremost, now click on the source very carefully. Click on the source and create a new folder. And we want to create a folder known as model, or you can say models. Both are the same. So it helps us now to actually see that, oh, now we can see that everything is inside the app and there is a model directory as well. We obviously will need some helper as well to shoot email and stuff like that. So it's a good idea that we create these helpers as well. Again, this is not going to crash your app or anything. It's just a folder and directory structures. All right. Now we have these application. There's a lot more that you can go ahead and create like that. So we'll be using that part as well. Now, one of the most important thing that we'll be using is the environment variables. Obviously, our database strings cannot go in the clear text format. They need to go somewhere secure so that when we deploy them in the production, they actually are secure there as well. So one neat trick is you can come here into the VS Code and just double click here and it will automatically create a file in the root of the directory. That's where we want it. It is .env. These are your environment variables and you can access them easily. And in the production as well, in every single hosting, these environment positions are there that where you have to inject them. In the DigitalOcean, AWS, everybody has these secret managers. We'll come back onto this one. Right now, we don't want to add anything like that. I'm just creating a folder structure which can help you to do all these things. All right, so this is the basics that we have, that everything. Now notice here, everything is still inside the source, as I mentioned. Then we have this app, and then all the things are here. Now, one more interesting thing which confuses a lot of people is majority of your file will go into the app. And I told you just here that inside this app, somewhere, here it is, your backend also goes, your frontend also goes. So it's time that we verify that how does that works. So inside this app, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, and I'm going to call this one as login. So login is going to be first. Now I have to ask myself before creating these folders, am I creating it for backend or frontend? I'm creating it for frontend. So if I'm creating it for frontend, I know I have to call it as page. Yeah, that's the page we talked about. So I'll go back, and inside this, I'm going to go ahead and create a new file, and I have to call it as page.tsx. The name is super important. Call it something else and it will crash up everything. Yep, that's how it works. So now that we have this page.tsx, now it's time that we simply go ahead and just simply have the basics of a simple hello world kind of a thing, or just have it a simple test or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say export and default function, and we'll call it as login page, just like this. Now inside this login page, obviously you want to return something to just say hello world or something like that. Right now, I'm not worried about the functionality. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, return. And what do I want to return? A simple div, and which will say login and a div close. That's it. That's all what we are doing. Now, obviously, I would love to just properly align this. This is really bad. I'll enable my, oh, there we go. So I need to just have this. No auto prettier is coming in. I'll make sure I enable that so that it doesn't bother you that much, but I have to just save it. Now, the moment I save it, that is it. I don't have to worry about any route or anything. I can go back on to my next app, and I can simply go ahead and say /login. And that's it. Probably I didn't started my server. Yep, my bad. So we'll just go ahead and say npm run dev. And there we go. Our server is up and running. All right, looks good. Let's go back onto the browser and hit a login route again. And this is painfully long. So we can see that this is a login. Of course, you can go ahead and use your skills, like you can go ahead and add a class name. Then you can go ahead and say, hey, I want to have something, suggestions, please. Flex. Okay, no suggestions. I'll just leave it. I'll just add a simple classes here. So class name, we'll just go with a text-center, text-wide. I was expecting that it will give me all these suggestions. And we'll just also say text-to Excel. Yep. so that at least we can see that there is a nice login. There should be text center as well. Align center. Yeah, there should be text center. All right. Anyways, we'll just figure out the CSS part a little bit later on. But as we can see, now, can I go ahead and use a sign up here? Nope, I cannot. This is a 404 page. By the way, you can customize your 404 page as well. You can read the documentation a little bit and you can customize. Just read about, hey, I want to learn about 404 not found.js. So you can create a new file there with the name of just not found. As you can see, app blog not found. So wherever your app is inside the blog, and this is where you can just create a file and customize this one. I'll not do that as of now. I just want to show you the basics of how things are working. Now let's try to crash this app. So let's just say I understood the basics of it, but I didn't understood truly of it. So I'll just go ahead and again click on the app, create a new folder. You always have to create a folder for every single route. I'll just go ahead and say sign up. And obviously it's engineering that we try and fail the stuff as well. So let's just say I call this one, instead of the page, I just call it as login.tsx. What happens in that case? Again, we are going to go ahead and say export default, come on, suggestions. And we'll call this one as, we should call it as sign up page. That would be more cool to crash, because we are in the sign up. So let's just call this one as signup.tsx. So now we have export default, and I'll not call it as login page, sign up page. There we go. And inside this, we're going to go ahead and say we'll return. What do we want to return? A simple div with a flex? Probably not. We'll also have a simple sign up, and we'll have a div just like that. And again, of course, this needs to be there. All right, so we're returning this. Now let's just save this. There is no problem here. It says compiled successfully, no problem there. But if I go up here, instead of hitting the sign up, now if let's try login first. Login works. And then I try sign up. Nope, it doesn't work. So now we understand the importance of the file naming convention, because it's a naming based routing. So I'll go ahead and turn it up into page.tsx. And what you're going to notice, as soon as it compiles, all you got to do, you don't even need to hit the reload. So it works out of the box. So this is how the naming convention and everything works up here. All right. Let's go back and try to explore a tiny bit more into that, how the things are going to work. All right. So as I told you, everything is inside the app, and there's one major portion of it. So we have talked about how the front end part will look like. And I told you can also work with the backend part of it, but the backend part needs to be inside the folder of API. Let's go ahead and do that. So inside the app, we'll create a new folder, naming convention, cannot emphasize it more, API. And inside this API, this is how you actually define your routes. So for example, let's take this API. And in this API, the way how you're going to make your folder is going to be your API route. So for example, if further inside this API, you create a folder or maybe a couple of folders, let's go ahead and work on with that. So you created a folder named as users, maybe for an example. And you also created a folder name as, what else? Home. So you can go ahead and create, and this will define that how the routes are going to work. So API/users, and similarly API/home. So this is how it actually works. Absolute basic. There is nothing too much complex about it, but this is how it actually goes. I'll go back. And now inside the APIs, I want a new folder structure to be followed, which is known as users. So obviously my route is now not just the API directly, but API/users, and then whatever the file folder, how am I creating. And as I mentioned, inside this API, just like in the front end, it is exactly almost copy paste, but the file name is just route. So what we learned here is, if we want to create a sign up, we have to create a sign up folder first. And inside that folder, we have this page.tsx. Similarly, in the users also, we need to create a folder first. Now this folder can be anything, sign up, anything, whatever you like. So I'll just go ahead and create a sign up. And once I have this sign up, now inside this sign up, you have to create a route. That is route.ts. Of course, it's not X because it's not a component. Now, just to make sure you understand it more proper, inside the users, I'll create one more folder that will be login, because obviously anyhow, I have to create the login route, and I'll just create a new file, and that will be route.tsx. dependencies.ts. So this is now a proper folders and structure that we have this login API route, we have this signup API route as well. This is now finally a complete guide that how actually the folder structure and everything is laid out. This is absolute basic. But there's a couple of things. I cannot just go ahead and work on with signup. I cannot go ahead and work on with login because these APIs needs database connection. And this Next.js is an edge run framework. So there's always edge runtime. So it doesn't stay connected with your database. Every single time there is a database call, you have to actually call your database, make a connection with it, and then you talk to your database, send some file, receive some file, all these things actually go ahead and work through that. Now, in order to actually have this, you need to have some configurations. So I'll just close this app. Notice here we have helpers outside, we have models outside. Just like this, we can also have our database connections outside as well. And there are a lot of ways how you can go ahead and do this. So at least let's go ahead and connect the database. I'll first go into env and I'll create a couple of environment variables so that they are helpful for us and later on we can use them. So first and foremost, we'll be having this Mongo underscore URL or URI, whatever the way you prefer. I'll also be using a token underscore secret. That could be any secret. I'll be using something like Next.js, YouTube, whatever. And we'll also have a domain. This will also be useful later on. So I'll just use an HTTP local 3000. That's my domain name. This will be helpful for me when I'll be shooting some emails. So I obviously want to click on and have the local host. So this will be useful later on. Now let's go back on to getting the string. So let's go ahead and connect compass and just literally copy this. Come back here, paste it up here. And all you have to do is add your password here. So obviously I'll be adding my password, but behind the scenes. So once this video gets over, this part of the video gets over, I'll add my password. So I'll just say add my password. So obviously I'll not add it in front of you. Otherwise I don't want to mess up. Anyways, it's a test database, but still. Okay, so I'll just save it and we'll try to connect with the database. I'll walk you through with the connection, at least the code part of it. Now notice here we have app helper modules. So similarly, we'll have the db config, whatever the name you want to give it. I'll give it a name of db config. I think that makes sense. So db config. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Now, again, inside the db config, I would love to keep, I can just actually close all this, close others. Yeah, close everything. All right, so inside the db config, come on. Yeah. Now inside the db config, I will just have a dbconfig.ts file. Let's go ahead and create. So dbconfig.ts. In this part, the naming convention doesn't really matter much. So you can just call it whatever you like. It is not going to bother you anything at all. In order to connect with the database, let's get some more screen real estate. The first thing is who actually is capable of connecting or talking to MongoDB. It's Mongoose. So we're going to go ahead and have Mongoose, and that Mongoose will be coming up from Mongoose. And then we'll be exporting this method as well. And it obviously needs to be async. We are talking to database. And as I always say, database is always in another continent. So things needs to be async. So I'll just go ahead and have a function just like this, connect. We'll call this one as absolutely simple connect. And we'll wrap this up into try catch block. So I'll just go ahead and have the try catch. There we go. The catch part is the easiest one. So first we are going to handle that part. It's really simple. We're going to have a console.wrong and we'll say the classic, the most horrific error, which is something went wrong. But we'll also go ahead and use the console log for displaying the error. You can go ahead and use error.messages as well. That's totally up to you. No problem at all in that case. Let's try to get a string of Mongoose connections. So Mongoose dot connect, obviously, dot connect. And this requires you to have just the URL. Now, I'll not give the URL which is suggested me by the Copilot. I'll be using my own string, and that you'll see quite a lot in this entire series. So process.env. And again, make sure you take the URL and name of the variable pretty accurately. It is Mongo URL. I should be using all uppercase to make it actually all Mongo underscore URI. This one should also be domain. So everything is consistent there. I'll simply copy this and we'll say Mongo URI. Now, here's the interesting thing. Since we are using TypeScript, there is no guarantee that this URI will always resolve, but I know it will always. So I'll just put an exclamation to make sure that, hey, I take care of it. You don't worry, it will always be available. And that's it. So all you have to do is this much. Now, once you have done this much, then you can actually grab a connection. So we can go ahead and grab a connection. And actually, let's hold this into a variable. So connection will be given to you by mongoose.connection. Once Mongoose has connected, it will give you mongoose.connection. The string will be available. And based on this, you can actually listen to a variety of events. For example, one such event is connection, and every event is being listened by the word .on. Now inside this, you can go ahead and try the connected. Connected, this is the one event, and it fires a callback, obviously. So once I have this callback, and I'll just go ahead and use it like this. And we'll remove this. Yep. Sometimes these auto suggestions are just painful, but bear with me. So we'll just simply have MongoDB connected successfully. Yeah, I would love that. Okay, so this part is all done. You can also listen to some of the errors in case you wish to. So similar to that, connection.errors, and you can just go ahead and listen to these errors just like this. I'll come back here. If there is any error, you can just go ahead and say, hey, MongoDB connection error, please make sure MongoDB is running. Then we can pass on error as a process string, and we can exit gracefully here. So this is all that is required to go ahead and get connected with that. And I'll save this one as well. So there we go. So this is the basics of it. Now, the most important part is this connect needs to come in almost every single place in the API, because without the connect, you cannot talk to database, and every single time an API call is there, you have to connect with the database. There is no exception. There is no option that is available for you. This is how it works. So there is no exception on that part. All right. So I think this is really a good progress that we have made about this application so far. All right. So this looks okay. This looks good. Okay. What else we can do next up? Now, next up, I want to do is actually I want to prepare at least a sign up screen so that I know that there is a sign up screen and how things are actually working on with this. All right, so let's go into, again, I don't want to go into API, backend part I'm not handling. I'm handling first the frontend part. So this is my sign up screen. I'll go into page.tsx and I will obviously import few of the things. Now, one thing important that you need to understand, from the frontend part, I need to grab some data and send it to the backend, just like you do in a regular application, a React application, or maybe there's a backend in Django, Spring, wherever that is. You collect the information and make an Axios request or fetch request to that. The same thing I have to do, but there's a problem. In the recent version of the Next.js, everything is a server component, and server component don't have access to anything that is on the front-end side. It's on server. So the most crucial thing that you need to understand here is that whenever there is this dilemma between the front-end part or the back-end part, you need to understand it very clearly that anything that's on server can access everything on the server side, file system, anything that's on the server. Front-end part, if you want to take advantage of use state, use effect, anything that's on the front-end part of it, Windows location, maybe you want to access the location, the URL, anything that's on the page, that's on the client side. And you have to explicitly make your application as a client side. Got it? No confusion. Absolutely simple. Anything that's on the backend, here's a simple hint. Most of the things in the API folder, yep, that's on the backend side. That's default server component, so that is that. But anything that's usually outside, not always, but outside, is usually a client component if we want to take some data. In this case, the sign up form, we want to take some data from the user and send it on the backend. So obviously that is going to be on the front end side. So let me walk you through how we can convert any component into the front end or the client component. It's super simple. Let's go ahead and go up here. All you have to do is simply say use client. Just like we have use strict, we can go ahead and say use client. That is it. One decorator and it is now a client component. You can use all of your window object. You can use all of your use state. You can use all of your use effect, everything. Yeah, how cool is this? All right. So now we'll be needing some of the libraries and stuff. So obviously I'll be needing something to redirect the things. So I'll be just going ahead and say, hey, I want to import the link. This is the next link. Okay. I'll be also needing React as well. So I'll be saying that, hey, let's go ahead and bring in React. And from the React, we'll be using a couple of stuff, but as of now, let's bring in React only. I don't know what we'll be using. And we will be using, because once the user is successfully signed up, I want him to redirect or get redirected to the home page. For this, I need to use router. Here's the common thing, which a lot of people are going to make mistake. The router is changed in Next.js in case you are coming up from the previous routers. I'll go ahead and say I want to use router. So this is the way how you bring in use router. And this router actually, notice here suggestion, it's absolutely wrong. This suggestion doesn't work. You cannot bring it like this. And let me show you how you actually bring it. You have to actually bring it from next, come on, I can write it. Next slash, again, this suggestion is also wrong. By default, even your GitHub Copilot, every suggestions, these are all wrong because this is the latest version of it. This one is now coming up from navigation. Yep. Use router, not user router, use router. This is the one I want to bring in. Use router is actually coming up from navigation. And I tried it while building the application. Every single time the suggestion I relied on it gave me the wrong suggestion. So maybe it will take some time. And last but not the least, we'll be using Axios. So I think we need to bring it like this. Axios. And these suggestions are usually correct. Not this time. Again, suggestions are good, but they always don't work always. So we'll be just going Axios. All right. So this is the basics. Now you'll also get these squiggly line because a lot of time, a lot of models, Mongoose, Axios, this is perfect installation. There is no problem in the installation, but TypeScript is one such thing which requires type definitions as well. And since the Axios types are not defined, we have to actually explicitly install it. I don't remember them always. So always remember this. You can click up here and then you'll get this bulb icon and you can click on it and you can say that, hey, right now it's for error for the unused import, but it will also give you that, hey, install the dependencies or the types for it. So I usually click on that. That's how I actually go for it. Right now we are not using Axios, so that's why it's getting a little bit bothered. So no worries on that part. Okay, how we are going to get a sign up. Now, first and foremost, we haven't designed our model yet, but I'll do that very, very soon. So first, let's go ahead and try on the front end part, what user data you want to accumulate. So I'll go ahead and say, I will grab a user. So it will give me a suggestion, hopefully set user, React use state, and I'll just go ahead and close it like that. Now, what all information I'm looking up for? Maybe I'm looking up for an email. Maybe I'm looking up for a password, of course, and also maybe username. So let's just say username. That is all. That is all the information I'm looking up for as of now. And of course, once a user actually gives me this all information, there should be a method which does all the sign up thing. So we'll be just going ahead and say const, and I'll say on sign up. And this method obviously will be talking to database. So this needs to be async. And there we go. Right now, I have no clue that how this will work. So I'll just keep a method as it is. I'm not worried on that part. So I'll just keep it as it is. All right. Now, right now, there is nothing more in my mind. I just want to have a simple divs here so that I can just go ahead and place it up here. So I'll just use a little bit of my CSS that I have pre-written here. So I'll just use that instead of this login and stuff. So I'll just go ahead and give it to you directly. There's nothing basic. All right. Now inside this, we are going to first have a simple h1, which says login. And I think that should work a tiny bit decent. Let's see that if we are crashing our app or it's going good. And we should be in the sign up page. So we should not be saying login. We should be saying sign up. That's better. All right. So our looks sing up. All right. Sign up. There we go. All right. Looks very tiny, but I'm okay with that. Now, after this, I'll be creating a couple of input forms. For this, I'll be starting with the label. We just need to create one, and then after that, we'll be just copying and pasting. So have some line break. Then let's go ahead and have a label. This one is going to be HTML for, not for email, but I'll edit that. This one will be for username. I'll first grab the username. This one will be for username. All right. By the way, we have, all lowercase. That's nice. We have this label up here, and let's see how does that look. Yeah, username, not the best, but I'll work with that. All right. Next up is we need an input. Now, input field will have some other things. ID, username. Okay, I'm fine with that. Type is text, and the value is user.username. Yep, absolutely correct. And on change, absolutely perfect. In case you didn't got it, we are grabbing the event. We are calling this set user. which is a method, a function responsible for updating my variable user. So that's why I'm using here is set user. And set user, in which we are keeping existing user everything same, and the username only is getting updated with the e.target.value, which is coming up from here. Absolutely simple, no problem. We'll also grab a couple of more, like for example, it is not suggesting me anything, but all right. I want placeholders as well. Placeholder, and I'll say username. Let's see how does that look. Decent, not the best, but I'll just work with that. In case you want, you can go ahead and add a class name. We can add a little bit of padding of 4. There's some suggestion. Let's see if that suggestion. Okay, not the best, not the bad. All right, I think padding 4 is too much. I'll just go ahead and padding 1 is 2. We'll go with the 2. We'll go with the 2. All right. Okay, so this is just the decent. As I told you, you can use your Tailwind skills and just design this much better. Now, the best thing about this is now I have to grab email and password, so I can just go ahead and copy paste this. So I'll just grab from here. I'll make a duplicate of this one. And obviously, we made a mistake. Yep, we shouldn't be copying and pasting till the div. My bad. And we'll just copy from the label to the input. Now we'll copy and paste. Yeah, better. So we'll just go ahead and use multi-cursors, username, 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 username. This needs to go on email. Let's see if we have made any mistake. Should be okay. And then let's copy and duplicate this. And this one, this time will be password. So Command D, Control D also. Multi-cursor, I love that. Password. The text should also be password. Password. And that should be it for majority of the portion. Username, email, password. Horrific form, but it will work. It will work. Now let's go ahead and grab a button as well. So we'll just go ahead and say button just like this. And this button will have class name. I love that. And what we're going to do is just have this button, and we'll call this one as sign up. Sign up. All right, sign up button. Sign up here. All right, here. Okay, a couple of more things we need in this one is, first and foremost, this sign up needs to go somewhere. So obviously we cannot just go like this. So we need to have an on click. Suggestions, please. No suggestions. On click. Yeah, on click sign up. So I'm referring to this method which I created above. I don't know how this method works, but right now this is all the basics. Also, apart from this, I'll use a link. So link will go to a login, and we'll say something like this. This page will go like visit login. I'm not interested about login page. Yeah, that's basics. So there we go. Now we have a sign up page. Looks decent. And we have this username, email, password. So right now, don't want this email. Okay, so we got this one. So password, sign up, everything is working nice. We are happy with this. This also is taking us to the login page, which is not yet designed, but we can actually quickly design that very basics, all part of it. So nothing too much worried on that part. As of now, we are going absolutely good with that. Let's also try and do login also in this same video. Also, let's try that. Okay, so I'll just go up here and we'll go to VS Code. Okay, this part looks good. Notice here how easy it was for us to actually design this. I'll go ahead and copy all of this. So copy this. Let's go into the login and page, and let's go ahead and paste it. Obviously, we want to change first the sign up page to login page. That's the most important thing. Login page. Okay, let's analyze this from top to bottom. This needs to be client. Okay, link is there, React is there, use router is there. We are not using it, but we'll be using it very soon to forcefully push the user to /profile or something like that. All right, so this is what we have as a user. We'll be grabbing only the email and password. So this time it's a login, so I don't need this field. All right, no suggestion, please. Thank you. This one is on login. Makes sense, on login. And then we are returning this sign up. Nope, it should be login. Yogion, login. All right. And then we have this username is not here. We are just email and password. So I think we can just get rid of this very first and should be all okay. Yep, all okay. So there we go. Email is there, nice and easy. Password is there, nice and easy. This one is obviously going to be on login. Login. Did we imported anything else? Yep. We don't want this on. So this one is good. We have got this one. Password is getting password value. Good, good, good. Login here. And what we can see, visit sign up here. We're not too much worried about providing a proper message to the user. This is not what we're going to do. All right. And now notice here, all the error is because of Axios, but this is not going to bother anything. This is just because of we are not using it right now. Notice here, Axios here is declared, but it's never used. So don't worry, don't bother. This is just squiggly line warning. Not going to do anything. All right, save this and let's see if I go ahead and there we go. Sign up is good. And our login page is not good. Yeah, now it's good. Takes some time, some reloads, common. So we have some email and password and that's nice. And we can visit the sign up page. And yeah, it takes a little time. Did we properly link it? Looks like not. Yeah, not. This one is sign up. So there we go. Small debuggings, sign up. There we go. Login, sign up. All right. So at least we are able to do this much of the thing. Now, not this much is not enough. We need to do a tiny bit more, tiny bit more. I want to walk you through with one more concept, which will act as a foundational for a lot of upcoming things. Don't worry about these reds. I know these are bothering you, but these are okay. Okay, just like we have studied about these logins and everything, we need to study about one more thing, which will also be super, super helpful for us, which is known as how we can grab and build a profile for the user. Now notice here, this profile is not in the API. This is not in the backend part. I'm talking about the front-end part only. So I'll just go ahead and say that, hey app, I'll create one more folder for you, which will be profile. And as you know, in the profile, I obviously have to create a page.tsx. So page.tsx, and we'll just go ahead and say export, suggest me please. Suggestions, no suggestions, hate that. Export default, yeah, now suggestions, good, I like that. And we can just go ahead and say return, give me something, yep, nice and easy. And a profile, and an HR, and what else? Profile page, okay, I'll take that. No, I'm not gonna take this much. I'll just go with this. And I'll just go ahead and wrap this up, this div. Suggestions are good as long as you know what you are doing or what your application is trying to do. Otherwise, you'll fall into the crap. Okay, I'll just indent this a little bit so that it doesn't bother you that much. All right, so this is my profile page. And as you all know, this is super easy to work on with this. Later on, we'll learn how to protect these profile pages as well. So I can go ahead and work on the profile. Okay, profile page works absolutely fine. But what about if I go ahead and move into the profile and type /1? How can I grab this one? Because this is a very crucial part of building the application. How can I grab not just one, but if I go ahead and write ABC here, this is a common syntax. You'll be doing this thousands of times. There's a special syntax of how you do this in the Next.js. So let's go back onto the code. There we go. So in any folder or any route where you want to grab this ID, there is a special syntax in Next.js. Right click on this, create a new folder. Yep, folder, not file. All right. And make sure you put this into square brackets. In the square bracket, whatever you want to extract, whatever the object name, remember we have this request.body, similar we have request.params, in case you worked somewhere in the Next.js, not Next.js, Express.js. Similar to that, you have to grab your ID. It could be user ID, it could be ID, whatever you want, it could be anything, but it needs to be in the square bracket. But for example, if I go ahead and say ID, this is not alone enough. This since is a folder and every folder on the front end needs a page known as page.tsx, you have to create that. So I'll just right click and create a new file and I'll call this one as page, not a page, page.tsx. There we go. Now inside this page.tsx, you will be able to grab it. How? First, I'll go into outside page because we have this already created for us. I'll copy this and I'll go into this page.tsx inside the square ID. Yep, the square ID one. So this is going to be the page where I'll actually grab everything. Now notice here, this is not my client component. I haven't said use client or something like this. I'll just go ahead and call it something different because profile page, there's already profile page. Although it's not going to bother me anything, but I don't like it. I'll probably call it as user profile, not even page, user profile. Whatever the name you want to give, it's not going to bother you. All right. So how can we grab these parameters? Really simple. You have to simply say, I want to grab some params. That's it. This params needs to be of type any. If you know the exact type, strings, whatever you're passing on, you can get that type. But since I'm not focusing too much on the TypeScript so that everybody can understand Next.js, so we'll simply go like that. Now, how we can actually grab this? So just here in the profile page, we'll first add some classes here so that it can be easily visible. So we'll just grab text dash 4xl. We need big one. 4xl, text is already white. Yeah, I think that's enough. Now just go ahead and inject your variable, and all you have to go ahead and say is params dot whatever you are grabbing. In this case, we are grabbing ID. So just grab the ID. That's it. Now let's go back, and probably we have got some errors. I know. It is compiling successfully. Let's go ahead and kill this. Probably I saved it at the wrong time. All right, compiled successfully. Now let's go ahead and grab this. Come on, takes so much time. So we can see the profile and ABC. I think we should actually span this up. All right, to show you in a little bit better manner, although it doesn't really matter, but I'll just go ahead and do this. I'll cut this out and I'll go ahead and say span, just like this, paste it up here, and I'll add some classes onto this one. And we can close this down and we can say, hey, what do you want? I want, first of all, padding of 2, and I want it to be rounded. I want BG dash golden. Do you have golden? Yeah, they don't have golden. We have to go through with the orange. And the text is going to be black, I guess. Text dash black. You can use your own CSS of Tailwind. There we go. We got it. We just need a tiny bit of margin on the left. We'll just grow with the 2. There we go. So although it was not intended to make it look like that, I know what you're thinking. Don't think that. It's not that. We'll go ABC and we can go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Whatever you're grabbing, it's going to grab it from there. So this solves a lot of our future problem that we'll be having. Looks nice, absolutely gorgeous there. And simply, if I go on to just the profile, one page is also getting served there, but that is this page that right now here. This is a different page. And once you have this, some IDs after this, like 9988, whatever, this is a different page that is being served. So this actually sums up your basics about Next.js. I know this is a really, really long video, but again, we'll be having a really long short videos about discussing about Next.js and everything. Now we are in a perfect position that we have our folder structure ready. Everything is almost ready that how we want it to be. Our DB connection is also ready. Now, in the next video, or if you're watching in continuation, that means just a skip forward. What I'm going to do is, now first we'll create an API. How we can create a backend. I'll just close a lot of things here. Okay, so let me just walk you through what we are going to do next up in this one. So the next plan is really simple. We simply want to work with the backend now. We have worked quite a lot on the front-end part, handled the parameters, file structure, directory structure, client component, server component, a lot of things we have discussed. Now the next goal is how I can design APIs. That will make me a full stack developer, almost. So in the next video, or just a fraction after if you're watching in continuation, next up we are going to take an attack on building the APIs. We'll start obviously with the Signup API, the most basic. We'll extract the data and we'll sign up a user and throw up into the database. That is all what we want to do. And that would be a fantastic start. And then eventually we'll do login, then mailing, verified tokens and all of that. But slowly. We want to take enough of the gradual path that it's enjoyable, it's fun and all of this. So I hope you have enjoyed this one. And in case you are watching it along with me, then hey, let's catch up in the next video. If you're watching it in the next one, just a moment of pause and let's catch up on the other side. All right. Hey there everyone, Hitesh here and welcome to another video or another part of the video in case you're watching in sequence. And it's a Next.js complete full stack course that you're watching on YouTube, of course. So in this video, I'll walk you through with the next step. Now this video is almost a part 2. So in case you haven't watched the part 1, go try that. Or in case you are jumping directly on this portion, please don't. It's not a good idea. So we have seen that how we can handle the front-end part a little bit more like a file structure. We haven't learned how we can make a web request from the front end to our backend because our backend was not ready. In this particular section, we are going to learn that how we can create models which can talk to a database. We have already configured our database. We have already injected our environment variables, learned that how we can have a database connection file which needs to be called in every single API call, because edge functions which actually run, so they don't have a constant database connection. In this, we'll start by creating a simple model, and that model will be a structure of our database, and there's a lot of ways how you can design it. I'll walk you through with some of the quirky things and interesting things about it. You'll definitely enjoy that part. And then we'll directly jump into the sign up portion so that we can write a simple APIs which can, or basically controllers for API, which can do the logical part, take all the data and send it to the database. That's our first goal. Then we'll figure out what to do next up. So that is how we'll be going. Now let me take you on my screen first. So this is our screen. That's where we have been enjoying. So notice here the models is right now totally empty. We have almost nothing in our model. So it's a good idea, good time to create a new file into it. And feel free to call it whatever you like. And why is it not listening to me? Why is it not listening to me? So just give me a second. Probably my keyboard is not working. Yeah, should be working now. Yep. And we'll be calling it as user model. M should be capital or not. I'll keep it capital. User model dot. Again, this would be a simple JS. You can make it TS as well. I'll make it JS. User model.js, because there's nothing too much sensitive going into this one. First question, who can talk to my database? Obviously Mongoose. So go ahead and import Mongoose. That will be coming up from Mongoose. Now, how do we create it? Simple const, let's call this one as user schema. And that is going to be simply new mongoose.schema. And there we go. Basic, just like this. Now, before we go ahead and work about rest of the things, let me tell you something really interesting. Now, there is a special way of how you export your models from a Mongoose in case of Next.js, because there are chances that the model might already be created in the database. So in most of the cases, in the Express and all that, the model file doesn't run again and again automatically. But here we need to actually import this file quite a lot of time, and we need to take care of the cases. If it is already created, then use that. If it is not created, just create that. So there's a lot of ways how we do that. One of the way common user build syntax is just go ahead and take a user and simply go ahead and say mongoose.models and then create this users, because remember in the MongoDB, even if you call this in the Mongoose or the model file as user with a capital U, everything is lowercase and is pluralized. That's a MongoDB thing. It does it for everything. So that is the first thing. If it is already created, use that. Otherwise, we are going to create our own model. So we're going to go ahead and say mongoose.model model, and then we'll be creating. This is going to be a simple model which takes 2 parameters. What do you want to call it in the database and how does it look? Now, usually you'll see that something looks like this. And again, that's totally fine. And you can go ahead and call it like this as well. There is absolutely no problem in that case. Why is it giving it like that? There we go. Why is it bothering me this much? There we go. Or if you wish, you can go ahead and call it as lowercase users. That is also totally fine. Anyhow, end of the day, it is going to get created as users, lowercase. And once you're done with this, then you can go ahead and export it as a default. So export default user. That's what I prefer, that whenever I'm taking this user, I always call it as uppercase because it has a lot of superpower. It's not any ordinary variable. It's coming up from Mongoose. So .save method, find one. There's a lot of features that comes up as a built-in. Now, apart from this, I'll not talk too much about the Mongoose superpower because Mongoose definitely itself deserves a course, but I'll just go with the basics. For example, I'll just go ahead and say, hey, I'll be having a username and that will be of type string. And we're going to go ahead and require it true and provide a customized message of, hey, and we'll also keep this username as unique. So that will be nice and easy. We probably can have a trim, but I'm not interested in that. Already too much. And then we'll be having email, we'll be having a type of string and required true, please provide an email. And let's keep emails as unique as well. That is it. This much is already more than enough. All right. Now, next up, we'll be having the password, which will be a type of string. and required true, please provide a password. That's it. Don't want to do any further into the password category. Now, apart from this, you'll see that in these kinds of model, there are common fields which are there. For example, usually I go with the role because I bring my roles from an enum file, constant file, from where I can bring the enums like is admin, manager, student, teacher. There's a lot of roles with that. In this case, I'll drill it a little bit down so that it doesn't create that much of confusion. Although in production grade application, I usually keep it as a role. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one here. First of all, is verified. So is the user verified? By default, no, it is not. Type Boolean, of course. Default is false. So my user is by default not verified. I will send him an email in which he'll click a link. And once he click the link, then only he'll get verified. Similarly, as I was talking about the role, I'll just go ahead and call this one as is admin. And is admin will be like type Boolean. Default will be false. And probably that's it. Now again, as I mentioned, I usually don't go with the is admin. I usually go with the role because that's a better approach. But again, we'll not go about the better approach or data modeling in this case. That's very basic. Now comes up the interesting part. Now, what a lot of people does is they try to keep their tokens as a separate model itself. I don't do that usually. I try to keep them all separate because I think somehow that they are part of user itself, and MongoDB is a document database. So I think this is a better approach. Again, I could be wrong, you could be right. So there's a lot of debate about it. So the way how I do it is I keep a couple of string like forgot password token. And this forgot password token is usually a type of string. And I keep on updating the values. Now, along with the forgot password, I keep the forgot password token expiry. So forgot password token expire. Nah, not happy with expire. I go with expiry, which is a type of date. Similar to that, I do have a verify token as well. No suggestions. Please give me a suggestion. Nah. Verify token, that is also a type of string, and similar to that, verify token expiry. Now, how does these token works? There is a lot of mechanics into that, and I would love to share this, but this is the whole. Our model is now complete. Now, let me take you back on our Excali draw and show you that how actually the token part and everything works. So for this, we need to understand what are the three parts of our application. So the three part of our application, the first one is the user, or it would be better to write browser, or I'll just write user/browser. So whatever makes sense to you. So this is our user and browser. So this is first part of it. The second part of the application is our controllers, or you can say our APIs. I think API would be a greater name, but obviously I would love to call it as controller, but I think in this case, API is also fine. And the third part is actually our database, where all of these things are stored. So if I go back, all this data about is admin, forgot password token, and all these things are actually kept up there. Now, how does this forgot password token or verify token works? That is also a very interesting use case. So I'll just walk you through. So this thing known as your verify token, this is nothing. It's just a field which holds some string values. Now, obviously, these string values are encrypted. That's why we brought in the bcrypt.js, and we love to store the complex things. The way how it works is, in your API call, if somebody makes a call to your, let's just say, user/verify. So you simply generate this verify token, and this verify token is going to be a long gibberish string, something like this. This is how it usually goes. So this is, let's just say, a long gibberish thing. Now, this is generated by API. Now, there are two portions of it. Now, this only alone is not generated. This thing is actually one portion of it is updated into the user's database. Now, this model has something inside this. Right now it is empty, but as soon as somebody hits that API call, that long generated string is actually copied and is saved into database of that users. Now, one portion of this is actually sent to the user as well. All right. Now, API doesn't keep anything. It's just a business logic. It doesn't have the capability to save anything. It just simply goes ahead and sends one copy to the database, one copy to the user. Now, what next? Now, what next is, once somebody actually verifies that, this token actually comes back to you. Now, how it comes back, that's we'll study in this lecture. But this might come up into a URL. You can extract it from a URL. We know how to do it. It might come up into a request body as well. That's okay. We can also handle that part. But the whole idea is this token actually comes back to you. Now, once this token comes back to you, in the database, we have to find that where this token is. Just like we can find a user based on email, just like we can find a user based on ID, we can also find the user based on this token. Yep, we can do that. Now, once that particular user is actually being found, and let's just say you have found this and there is this user, now this user information comes to your API based on this token. Now, once this is actually being done, you actually invoke the API logics and simply go ahead and certain fields into it. For example, we are talking about verify. You go ahead and update verify as true. So now this is a verified user. So this is how the basic logic of how verification works. Somebody clicked on it, you know the request is coming up from that token. Now, apart from this, you might have noticed that I also keep the verify expiry as well, because I want to give the user only a certain time duration when this verification can happen. I don't want it the verification that I send an email today, it happens 30 days after that, so I'll definitely don't want that. That's why I keep that expiration. I always bring back the user only basis on that the token should match and the time should be certain limit, in under certain limit. So I'll walk you through with that as well. So this is the base case of it. Now with the similar way, your forgot password token also work. I'll walk you through with that scenario as well because I can understand this can be complex. So I'll again reiterate that part. It will be a revision as well. So I'll just go ahead and remove this, and we'll just get back to this one. All right, so what happens in this forgot password token, we can now remove this part. Okay, so we have a forgot password token. Again, what is a forgot password token? Nothing, it's just an encrypted long string, a hashed value, that's it. So this hashed value looks something like this. This can be something like this with few numbers, really long strings, something like that. And what's the job of the API? Is to send the copies. Simply, it takes one copy, send it to the database. I'm going out, there we go. And this one copy is sent to the user browser. It doesn't keep anything for itself, it just removes it. API cannot hold it. So now user has this token of forgot password and the DB also has this token of the forgot password. Again, this is sent to the user or the browser, or you can say to the email. That is also a good word to have here. So now this is being sent to the email. Now what next? Obviously, we have to search it. So now this token will come to you from the user side. So user will hit a route, maybe forgot password, whatever the route is. It will give you that particular long token. Again, I repeat this, token might come up into the URL in the request body, doesn't really matter. In this case, we are talking about this forgot password. So obviously, with forgot password, I need this token and I also need what is the password that you want to update so that I can add this into my field with my logic. So that is there. The logic is same for verify and the forgot password. Now what I have to do next? I have to take this long string and I have to search it here in the database. Just like I can search for email, I can also search with the token. And this will return you an user, entire user who is having this token. When this user actually comes to the API is perfectly capable after matching the token and the expiry that, hey, the token is valid, the expiry is also valid. Then it simply go ahead and update one field. So I can simply go ahead and say, hey, update user.password, that gets a new value. Whatever the new encrypted value, user has given you a value, you encrypt that and you update that. So you simply go ahead and simply say updated password, if I can write that, updated password. So that is all you have to do. That's it. You have updated your password. So this is behind the scene logic of how the verify password works, how the forgot password work, or any other token based mechanism that you are used to. This is how all of them works. Quite a lot of theory, isn't it? Yeah, but I hope that you are enjoying this. I hope that I'm able to explain this so much basics to you and you are enjoying that. All right, so now that my models are all done, now it's time to open another file. My models are there. My database connection is there. Notice here the database connection, I can just call this connect and connect to any time with the database. Now what's interesting is go into the app and inside the API, we have users and inside that we have this sign up and we have this route. Now this route is actually empty right now in this case, but you might be wondering, can I create only just one file in the sign up? Yep, there's no other file you can create. And this might be bringing to your question, another question. So I'll bring this up. There are a lot of notes here. That I also handle a lot of things. So for example, if it is /API/users/signup, if this is the case, then I have a lot of things that I handle here. For example, on the same route, how do I handle the GET request or the POST request or the PUT request or the delete request? So how do I handle all of these cases? Now, there is a nice way of how you handle this. The standardization of the APIs, I'll not talk about too much of the standardization of API, that again requires a separate course in itself. But the ideal is that you handle all these things via the request method. A lot of time when we actually teach the tutorial, it's okay. Then we go ahead and simply ask them to simply create routes with the different controllers. Like for example, create user, or maybe something like we ask to create update user. But the whole idea is this is not a standardization approach. It's okay for tutorial part. There is no harm in that. But if I go ahead and say simply user, then if it is a GET request, I should be getting a user. If it is a POST request, I should be adding a user. If it is a PUT request, I should be updating a user. Delete request, then I should be deleting a user. So this is a standardized approach. And this exactly is being followed in the Next.js as well. A lot of behind the scene details. So all we got to do is simply write the functions for the POST method, GET method, and all of that. Now, the syntax is a little bit. You have to first get it and understand it. Once you get one syntax, all of them are exactly same. So first, we're going to go ahead and simply bring the connect. That's the most important thing. So connect. And the first time you'll be seeing the default import statement. So yeah, this is the first time you'll be seeing it. From, if I can write that, from. And this will be coming up. Notice here you can write @. Yep, that's your root directory. And then you can simply go ahead and say, hey, I want to go, where should I go? What's the name? dbconfig. Okay, dbconfig. And inside the dbconfig, there is this dbconfig file. Okay, this is dbconfig.js, I guess. Let me just check this. dbconfig.ts. Although you don't need to import the TS, but sometimes I've seen that there are some issues and bug because I didn't mention a .ts. Very rare, very rare. Sometimes it even gives you problems, but it has happened to me a couple of times. Okay, the first thing that you have to do is simply go ahead and connect. That's it. That is it. Don't need to do anything. No, then catch. It just needs to connect. But we need a couple of more things as well. The first obvious thing is user. We need model so that we can add things into the database. And that will be coming up import user, and that will be coming up from @app, models, and users. Make sure you double check this because I have noticed this. This actually creates a lot of problem. Just now you have seen, because our model is not coming up from app, model, user. Our model is sitting somewhere else, and that's totally allowed. You can keep it here as well. There's no problem. In the app, models, and user, that is also one way. But we're keeping it all totally outside. So in the models, and then we are getting in. Notice here, this is still going to give you a problem. The reason for that is you need to give the file name. So inside the model, we are calling it as user model. So make sure you are cautious about that. User model, that should be happy. Okay, now the next thing is you need to grab request and response. So in case you have worked with Express or anything of a backend, you notice everything actually is dependent on request and the response. You need to take something, send something. In the Next.js, you actually work with it a little bit different. We go ahead and first grab next request. Yeah, come on, suggest me. Yeah, there we go. Next request, and we also get next response. So these are the two things which actually helps you to do all of this. They all comes from the next server, just like this. We'll be encrypting some of the passwords. So let's go ahead and import bcrypt.js, and that's coming up from bcrypt.js. And what else? I guess that's it. This one, we don't need JWT because we are just talking about signup, so that's not required. It's declared but never used. We'll use it. No problem there. All right, so now this connection and everything is done. So I'll just keep it there outside. So all the connection, everything is done. Now the way how you define a syntax of handling a post request, because data is coming to us. So we'll first say export, and then we'll be using async because obviously talking to database is another continent. It takes time. And then simply write the function and then what request you want to handle. Is it a post request? Is it a get request? Is it a delete request? So whatever that is, you just handle that. In my case, post makes sense, so I'll just use that. Then you simply go ahead and say that, hey, I will be handling a request. You can handle both request and response, but there is no need of handling everything here in the first parameter. You can just say I'll handle the request and then say, hey, I'll get the next request just like this. And there we go. That's it. That is how you handle. And if you want more things to be handled, just create another function, which is post, which is get. You get the idea. You get the idea. Now in here, the simplest part is to handle the try catch. Why the try catch? So I'll just go ahead and have the try catch. And the error is going to be of type error, type any, by the way. Not an ideal case of handling everything with any. Now how we're going to return a response, that's also super easy. You simply go ahead and say next response. And we will not be handling the errors like this. Although you can, there is no hard and fast rule, but I prefer to send a JSON response with the error message and status code. I think that's a better approach. So that's the first part of it, how we'll be handling. Now, the next question is how we're going to grab data from the body. In case you have worked with Express or something, request.body was our friend, which actually does that. It is almost similar to that, but in here you actually have to await a little bit. So await request. It's not body.json. Don't go with these suggestions. It's JSON, just like this. And we can hold this into a variable. Let's call this one as request body, just like this. In a lot of example, you'll see calling it as request.body. I also picked it up from the doc. So yeah. All right. Notice here it's request.json, just like how it works. Now further down this, you can actually extract all the variables that are coming in. So we'll be doing a little bit of the destructuring. So from request body, we need to extract some stuff. And what we'll be extracting is const. Let's grab some stuff from request.body. I know that from front-end side, I'll be getting a user name. I'll also get an email and I'll also get a password because this is the first time I'm registering a user. Now, again, it makes sense that you first go ahead and do all the kinds of check. If email is not there, if username is not there, if password is not there, then go ahead and throw this response. Although we have handled a lot of these error cases required and all of that in the Mongoose itself. So in the error response, they'll be getting a good message and all thanks to the custom messages that we have written here. So it is handled a lot, but not entirely. So I highly recommend you do on your own validation. I'll just move on to the basic validation. But before that, I'll also do a console log of entire request body so that we can see that what is happening. Not ideal for the production grade. So remove these console logs, but I'll just keep it to check things. Now I'll go ahead and first check if user already exists. Very simple basic check. All I have to do is use the superpower of this user. Remember, this user is coming up from the Mongoose. So this has a lot of superpower and can find a lot of things for us. So for example, it will say find one. And what do I want to find? I want to find an email. So I'll just go ahead and say email. And that's it. I want to find. Most important thing is this will return you a query if you don't put up an await. So this is a common mistake that a lot of people are doing these days, posting them on every single platform. So put up an await because it's a database call. And we'll just say simply user. Now, if this returns me something, that means user already exists. So all I have to do is if user is there, then simply go ahead and suggestions, please. No suggestions. We're going to go ahead and simply say return next response. Come on, now suggestion. There we go. JSON that user already exists. So this is nice and easy. So there we go. Again, you can make more checks onto this one. I'll not do more. I'll just go ahead and hash the password now. Hash password. Again, this is what the basics will be doing. So we'll be first creating a salt, which is the basic. And after the salt, we need to create a hashed password just like this. Feel free to use any number of rounds that you want to have. So the bcrypt.js library is responsible for creating the salt. And if you'll read the documentation, you'll find it exactly same. The gen salt will generate a salt with the 10 rounds. And again, different frameworks and libraries use different rounds. For example, Ruby on Rails use 12 rounds. Next.js and Express and Mongoose mostly use 10. So again, it's totally up to you. Hashed password, we are hashing. Password, we have to provide two parameters to bcrypt.hash. The first is the password, which we are grabbing from the request body, and then the salt value. So absolutely simple. There is nothing too much panic about it. Now we want to save a user in the database. So we have to create a user accordingly. So all we're going to do is create a new user just like this. This will have a username. This will have an email. And this will have a password, but not the password that we're getting from request body, but the password that we have encrypted, the hashed password. So we'll be going like this. So we'll be saying, hey, let's just go ahead and go like that. All right, now we'll be storing this into a variable first. So let's just call this one as const new user, because it's actually, or user to be saved, new user, whatever you like. Now this is nice and easy. Now all we have to do is save this to the database. You can do it in one line as well, but I prefer to have more explainable approach of this thing. So I'll just go ahead and say await new user dot save. That's it. It's going to save. Let's store the response into a variable. Maybe you want to save it, have a look on it. So I'll just say saved user. Again, this is a little bit of a verbose approach, but you can do this all by shortcut as well, but it's a tutorial. I need to explain the things, so I'm just keeping it a little bit more verbose. Now, after this, maybe you want to do a console log of the saved user. That's totally up to you. I just keep it so that I can show you more things, and that's it. Now, apart from this, all we have to do is simply return a response. Maybe in the response, I'll just go ahead and hit an enter here, and one more. Okay, let's just go ahead, Command Z, because I think that is messing it up a little bit. Yep, it's messing it up. I'll just remove it like this, and there we go. So I'll say message is created user successfully. Then we'll get, no, not like that. Success is true, and maybe I want to throw in the saved user. Totally up to you how you want to deal it with this. I just want to go like this. All right, so this is my approach of saving the user. And as you saw, that it's not really that difficult. Now we understand how this is going to be all taken care in the database, and absolutely. But one thing that is still missing is we are not able to send any data to the page. We have to actually work on this page as well, because it's right now not going to be doing anything at all. So let's go ahead and take care of this. So right now, this is the basic page that we designed a moment ago. Now, a couple of variables that needs to come. Once the user will be signed up, I need to push it to the login page. For this, I will be using a router. So notice here this use router, now it will come in handy. So I'll say const router use router. I'll use that in a minute. I've already created my state so that I can actually go ahead and use it. But I'll be creating a couple of more states which will be helpful. Okay, but again, you can optimize this a lot more and a whole lot of things can go on. So I'll just go ahead and create one more, which will be button disabled. So there we go. I'll keep it by default as false. Button will not be disabled. I'll not do much here. I'll just change the name of the button on our front end. So if you remember on the localhost, we have the sign up. Hopefully my server is not running, I guess. Yeah, it's not running. I just pushed the code on the git, that's it. So by default, it will be saying just sign up. So I'll be changing the text only based on whether the button is disabled or not. So I'll not do too much, but you can go all fancy with it. So that's all the basics we'll be doing. All right, now coming up onto the part that how the things are going to work. Now this button state is all just a fun that we are doing to understand a little bit more about the React use states and all of that. Now this button will be changed on, like usually how you want to utilize is button disabled. So this will act some classes on the button, so nobody is able to press it. But as soon as the button disabled is gone, that means somebody can press it. One ideal case is when there is some values in our field. So one hook that you can use for this is use effect. So what is going to happen in the use effect if there is a user, I'll just first end it. So there we go. It is dependent on this user. So this is a dependency array that how often should I run this use effect? And I'm able to do all of this because I have actually enabled use client. And I'm doing this just to show you that I can do it. So this is all dependent on this user. As soon as something changes in that will run this use effect or whatever the code you write inside this use effect callback. So I'll just go ahead and write the very basic of it. So I'll just go ahead and say if user dot email. So there are a lot of fields into it. Email, and I'll just check the length of it. If the length is greater than 0, and wow, suggestions, I love that. Then I'll check the user.password length is greater than 0 and the username length is greater than 0. Then I'll set the button as disabled as false, because if the length is greater than 0, the set button should be default to false. Let me just check that quickly. All right. And in other cases, it should be enabled. Yeah, because it is set button disabled. If it is true, the button is disabled. Get it. Sometimes you need to evaluate yourself as well. All right. So set button disabled to true in other cases. All right. So there we go. We can run this. And again, this use effect is not available. So I need to go to React and say, hey, we will be bringing use effect. And there we go. Now we can do it. And based on this, we can check out some fun stuff here as well. So I'll just go ahead and change up the text here, sign up here. And I'll just cut this out and inject my variables. And based on button disabled, I'll check that if there is a button disabled, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. Otherwise, I'll do something else. So if disabled button is true, that means button is disabled. So I'll just say no sign up. And if the button disabled is false, that means button is enabled. That means this time I can do sign up. So there we go. Just really basic. So we can go ahead and save this. Let's try to run the server. It's been a while. So npm run dev. And let's see how many crashes we are going to see. Always expecting the crashes. All right, looks good, decent. All right, so yeah, it takes some time. Okay, so we'll do a sign up. And there we go. So it says no sign up. All right, that's good. Because right now there is no value. So if I go ahead and say A, oh man, the reason why you are not able to see it is because there's a text color. So in all of this, come on, I have to do this for all of them. Yeah. Okay, no other option. We'll just go ahead and say text dash black. There we go. We have to do this for everyone. Text dash black. One more. Not that much of a big problem. Text dash black. There we go. So as soon as I save this, there we go. Now I can see A and no sign up still. Then I go ahead and A, and then I go ahead and A, and it changes to sign up. Now I can sign up. Definitely, I'm not checking much of these fields, neither on the backend side or front-end side, that what should be the minimum length of password. We can do a lot of validation, but this video is a little bit beyond the validations. All right, so this is the basic that we have gone through with it. Now let's learn that how we can actually utilize the sign up method, because we haven't talked about it. We have this Axios giving us red squiggly line, but we haven't worked on that. All right, the basic and the most easiest way is first have the try catch, handle the catch part. And that's the basic. Sometimes people actually get this on loading as well. Maybe you want to show some loading. Let's go ahead and do this loading as well. Let's go ahead and have a loading text as well. So const, and we'll have a loading, set loading. By default, it's false. So based on this, we can actually render some variable as well. Maybe in place of sign up, we'll just go ahead and cut this out, inject a variable again, and we'll just check for loading. If loading is true, we'll do something. Otherwise, we'll do something. So we can just go ahead and say sign up. And in this, we can say processing. You can have better spinners and loaders, but my goal is not to have you bogged down with 1,000 different libraries, but to show you more about Next.js. We can see this is processing right now because loading is true somehow. Loading. All right, why this is loading? Okay, let's check. If loading is true, oh, my bad. If loading is true, this should be processing. And if it is not true, that means loading is not happening. That means user can sign up. All right. So at least this also gives us a check that you can flip the switch. All right, good enough. So let's go back here in the try catch, and let's also add a finally here. You rarely see the implementation of finally, but in this case, finally makes sense because no matter what happens, loading needs to go away. This is the common syntax. Now, as soon as you go, first let's handle the catch part because it's easy. And in case you remember, I actually asked you to do something. We'll actually handle that part as well. So if you remember, I asked you to have this React hot toast. This is your assignment. You have to take care of how this library actually works. So the way how it works is you simply go ahead and say toast and then error, and you can just give it an error message. That's how basically it works. Now in here, it says, hey, I have no guarantee that error will have a message. So I'll just go ahead and write an any here so that it gets away the errors. But also I'll love to get a console log because I know I have not perfectly implemented React hot toast. It's an assignment for you, but just for the sake of. So in this case, we'll just go ahead and say sign up failed, and we'll also get the error dot message in the logs. Now, this log message will be available to you on the user side in the browser because it's a use client. All the console log messages in the API will be available in the bottom section, the terminal, because it's on the server side. That's one difference as well. Now, let's come back on to the try part. What do you want to try? First and foremost, what I want to try is set the loading. That's the basic. Set loading as true. All right. Now, I want to make a request. So I'll just use Axios, and I want to make a post request from the Axios. Now, make sure you provide this URL very carefully. You don't need to provide the entire URL. The Next.js is already configured for hitting your own route. So /API/users, the folder you have defined. Let's check it one more time. API/users. So there's an S. And then you can simply go ahead and hit a sign up route. So I'll just go ahead and hit the sign up. Now I'm also taking along with me all the data, which is user, which is stored in here. So I'm just taking all of this. And obviously, once this is being done, this will take some time. So I'll just go ahead and await for this one. And I'll hold the response in some variable. So I'll just go ahead and say response. There we go. All right, so this looks okay. Now, I also want to see that what kind of response is coming up. So it would be properly better for me if I go ahead and say sign up success, and I just go ahead and say response.data. I should be getting a response.data.message as well, but let's just say I want to get a response data only. And then the most important thing is I need to push the user onto a new page. And that is exactly why I have this router sitting behind, sitting idle, doing nothing. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, router, just go ahead and push the user to /login. Makes sense. All right, so that is it. That is it. If we haven't done any typo, attempted import error Axios. Did we make any mistake? Typos. And why is it having an issue? Because it shouldn't be like that. There we go. Now it should be happy. Why did it added these extra curly braces? No idea about that. All right, so this should be all. Let's hit a refresh just for the sake of self-satisfaction. I'll just go ahead and add a username with the name of 1. Email will be 1@gmail.com. And the password will be 123456. And let's try a sign up. Processing, working nice. We have been redirected. That is also nice. Let's go ahead and check out in the database. And oops. So let me go ahead. Give me a second. I'll just go ahead and sign in again. Probably it just redirected me. I need to actually use my email. So I'll just keep you up here. Till the meantime, you can just hang out with me, chit chat with me. No worries. It will just take a few seconds. I'm just logging in into my detail. I don't want to expose that email. So that is the only reason I'm just having this. Didn't bother it much. So let's go back up here and going back. All right, so this is where we are, and we'll just go into the database. And there we go. We can browse the collection. What did we name this project? And there we go. This one, we named it as test. All right, we should be naming it better. But anyways, this is also going to work. So we can see we have one@gmail.com. Is it visible? Yep, a little bit. Is verified as false, is admin is false. Rest of the fields, since they don't have any value, they are not being displayed here. Let's try with one more user. So I want to go with the sign up page. Let's sign up 2 as well. 2, this will be 2@gmail.com. At least we need 2 users. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice, very secure password. Sign up. This time it's quick because obviously first time it takes time and you get the idea. It is always like that. Let's hit a refresh. And it should be getting us 2 users, hopefully. There we go. So we can see that it is not that much difficult to actually get the data into the database. Let me go on to Codebase. There we go. And we can see that some of the users that we are getting, these users are actually on the backend side. So we are getting that. But not only that, we must be getting some of the users and response on the console as well. There we go. We can see sign up success, which gives us an object. And this object has a message, which is coming up our own message from the backend. User created successfully. Then we say it's saved user is getting us. That's nice. And then we have success true. They can be in any order, so it doesn't really matter. So there we go. It's working nice. And we can also see the difference between the messages that are coming up. Some are being read on the backend side, some are on the front-end side. If it is a console log in the use client, obviously it will be in the browser. Otherwise, if it is in the API route, usually that will be on the backend part of it or the backend side of it. So this is how we can actually go ahead and create a simple sign up, you can say. Now, the next thing that I want to do is similarly take down the route for the login as well. The login is almost similar. You'll find so much of similarity there, but I'll still do it in front of you so that you get more idea. We'll grab all of this because, yeah, we'll be a little bit lazy, you can say. There's no good word of putting it. All right, so I'll just paste it. So we have all the things. Make sure use client is the most important thing. Again, this is all happening in the route, not in the front end part. We are still in the route of login. So the first thing we have to do is connect with the database. Every single time we have to connect, I have spent a little bit good amount of time in debugging when all I was doing is missing this connect. All right, so connect, who said to bring it to you from HTTP 2? I am bringing this from, why? Oh, my bad. We actually brought this in from the wrong place. My bad, my bad. We should be bringing in from the sign up. This is where the real stuff is. So copy this and paste it. There we go. Okay, so now notice here, this is the bcrypt. This is saying cannot find a declaration file for module. The whole idea this is saying is I don't know the types about it. So all you can do is click on this bulb and say install the types about the bcrypt.js. Once you do this, it actually install additional types for you and get rid of the error. No need to worry about that part. In case this red squiggly line is bothering you too much, get with that or fix your linting. Okay, this is good. All right, so now we can go ahead and connect. There we go, connect in with the database. Again, this is my login route. So async, export, async function, post is good, request, header looks great. Suggestions, love them. It increases my speed of explaining and writing the things so much. Okay, all right. The basic starts again. So there is a try catch. The catch is any, and in here we can just go ahead and send any response that you want. We want to simply return a next response. So return suggestions, no suggestions. Request response.json error message status 500. Happy with that. Done with the catch part. Now coming up onto the try part, most of this is going to be very similar what we have seen, but there are some changes, not too much. First is how we can get data from the request. So it's really same request.json. This will be giving you all the data. So how we can grab this? We can grab request body from it, and we'll be destructuring some values. So let's go ahead and destructure email and password from request.body. Basic. So there we go. Why are you bothered? Again, all destructure elements are unused. Come on, let me type first. Too much aggressive. Let's go ahead and do a console log, and we'll be saying request.body. That's fine. Okay, to give us just the detail that whether it is working or not. Now, obviously, when we are logging into this one, so we have to check whether the user exists or not. So check if user exists or not, otherwise we'll throw him in some error. So we'll be saying that, hey, how can I do it? Again, the user, which has all the superpower. I can go ahead and say find one, and this is bad, find one. And I want to find it based on the email. That's it. That is all I want to do. If I found it, I'll just go ahead and store that into a user variable. But since this is a database call, make sure that is awaited. All right, looks nice. And if I don't find any user, then I'll just send a response that user doesn't exist. So much time is being saved. All right, but don't rely totally on suggestion. They are horribly wrong sometimes. All right, so what I want to do next, this is a login. So I've checked the user. Now I want to check the password. All right, so I'll just go up here. Why are you bothered? I have used the email just here. Email does not exist on type pass. It exists. I know the email is coming up. And I think we need to handle an await. Yep, my bad. Almost missed that. Okay, sometimes the linting is good. Okay, now if we want to check if the password is correct, that is super easy. We can simply go ahead and validate the password based on the bcrypt.js. It has a method which says .compare. And we can compare the password, which is coming up from the request.body, And if you remember, this user is coming up from the database. This is also bringing the password. There is a field in the model, user.password. So I don't have to do any magical thing. bcrypt.js can compare it. It knows the stuff, how much the default values and everything. So it will handle the stuff. I don't have to worry about that. Now, if the password is not valid, I have to send a response that, hey, you have an invalid password. Hey, I won't be doing that. Now, in case that is all done, now let's prepare the data, because the way how it works is it's actually really, really simple. If you have never done this kind of a thing, it's actually super easy to work on with. Now, once everything is verified that your user exists, your password is correct, then we actually create a token. This token is created by simply JSON web token. We encrypt that. Obviously, it's not just a plain token. And we send this token into user's cookies, not in the user local storage because he can manipulate the token there, but we can send the secure cookie to the user, and then later on, whenever we wish, we can access those cookies as well. So it helps as a bridger to verify whenever the user we want to verify. It just has the ID of the user. But it can have a lot of payload into that. You can send a user ID, email, admin type, whatever you wish. You can send all this data as a payload to that. That's exactly what we'll be doing next. All right, so moving up here, first of all, what we're going to do is create this token data. So I'll just go ahead and say create token data. Now, how we are going to do this is we'll be first having this ID. And one more important thing, whenever you look into this, notice this, every single time a user is created, it's with underscore ID. That's what the ID is there. So this is what exactly I'm bringing in. Although every single detail you can bring in from with this ID again, you just have to type in this find one. That's it. Based on ID, you can find anything. But it is no harm that if you want to send extra things like username, or maybe you want to send his email, I'll just send this much. But you can definitely send a lot more than this. Now, once you have done this, then obviously it's time to simply go ahead and create the token and send this token as well. So first and foremost, this is token data only. We haven't created the token. Now we're going to go ahead and create the token. The token, this is how it is created. All we have to do, again, notice here there's a problem. Why? Because suggestions, don't always rely on them. You have to actually import this. So I have to say import JWT, and that's going to come up from JSON web token. Again, could not find the declaration. So I'll just click here. Where's the bulb? Here it is. And install all the types. Don't want to see the red squiggly lines. Okay, so all it does is obviously the process.env JWT secret key. That's not my key. My data is actually stored. I have actually created a sample file for you so that I don't have to peek it again and again. Where it is, somewhere here, sample.env. So Hitesh, subscribe. Yep, you should do that. My token secret is here. So I'll just copy this. Go back here. This is not this is how it works. But still, it will give you some of the issues that, hey, what is this and all of that. I'm 100% sure that this is coming in. So I'll just put an exclamation that, hey, I know this is coming in. So all you have to do is, this takes some time to create the token. So make sure there is an await here. JWT has a method of .sign to create signed token. It takes the token data. This is all the data that we have. You can directly inject an object here. There is no problem. And then process.env that tokens.secret. How long you want it to stay there? Expire in 1 hour? I'll not do 1 hour. I'll stay for 1 day at least. Totally up to you how you want to do that. Now, all we have to do is token is created, but this token is not yet set into the user's cookie. The way how we do it, first, there are a couple of steps involved, is we have to create a next response. So we'll be just going ahead and say, hey, we want to have a response. We are not sending this response yet. We are just creating it. And the way how we create it is simply next response, and it will be .json. There we go. Have an object like this. There we go. And in here, we'll say message is login successful. That's a nice message. And success true. I think that is enough. But now the great advantage of this is if you have this response right now is a type of next response, which can actually go ahead and access your cookies, not the user's cookie. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, response. Did I mistyped it? No, response. Come on, too many suggestions. Response.cookies there is a S here. Don't go with the suggestion, bad suggestion here. Response.cookies, and you can set the cookies. Similarly, you can also get the cookies. So I'll just use a set here. And for this, I'll be using token, HTTP only. Yeah, that's fine. I would love to have it onto a separate line. I think that will make sense for me at least. There we go. We don't need to set even the path. That is obviously cookies. Yeah, escape that, don't need that. All right, so this is what we have. Now we have response.cookies being set. Now, this response has already sent the cookies and everything. Now you can return the response back. Return response. Now, as you'll be returning the response, it will be doing all the things. It will be sending the message, it will be handling the cookies, all the things are being done. So that is how it is being done. Quite a lot. But I think that's good. Now, just like we did here, we need to now go into the login page. Page.tsx, yep, we haven't actually worked a little bit onto this page. So now we need to do exactly almost same kind of thing that we did in the past. Yeah, basics, just like that. All right, so we'll start. This time we'll do it a little faster because I think we have studied a lot. All right, so first thing, router, because we'll be pushing it to some different page. So const router, use router. There we go, first thing done. We have got the state. We'll be getting the button disabled and the loading as well. So we can copy this. Oh, suggestions, I love that. Don't need to even copy paste that. Loading, there we go. Okay, all right, this is all done very quickly on login. Okay, how do we want to handle the login part? First, what we want to do is exactly same use effect hook. We want to actually use that. And since this is a use client or the client side or the client component, we can actually do this. So use effect, and I'll just close it first. And then the user, it's dependent on the user and it's not available. So React, please give me use effect. There we go. And in here, we'll be using the exact same logic. So let's just go ahead and use it like this. If user.email, now it's suggesting me nicely. There we go. And we can also have an else part. And we can have set button disabled to true. Button disabled is true. That means button is disabled. Okay, that's correct. I'm sometimes confused in that. So yeah, reevaluating yourself is not a bad idea. Okay, although it is giving me the entire bunch of code, but I'll prefer to write it. So try catch. Catch error would be any, and all I have to do is simple assignment for you. But first I'll do a console log, so that I also know that what is happening. So console.log, login failed, error.message, that's nice. But we'll also do the toast so that you can verify the toast messages and stuff. Right now the toasting is not working. I have not properly incorporated it, but hey. And we'll also go with the finally. How can we forget that? Finally, set loading, bad. There we go. Goes like this. And suggestion, no suggestion. There we go. Okay, so we have finally this set loading as false. That's nice. Okay, meat part, the how we're going to handle this request. Super simple. First, start your loading. There we go. And keep it as true so that we know something is happening. Then we have to use await because it might take some time. And then we have Axios. Axios will make a post request here. So super simple. Where it is going to make a post request /API/users/login. That's the route. It will also take the users with them. So that is nice and easy. And there we go. And looks like there's an extra. Yep, there we go. We also want to store that response. So we'll be saying const response. And again, you can dump down this response into console log. You can post up a toast message, whatever you like. I'll do a console log, because this is important and we should be seeing this data as of now. Learning phase. And then obviously we can hope first, before we do router push, this is great suggestion by the way, but we'll be doing a toast dot success, login success. You can implement that, just a few lines of code. And then we are going to go ahead and router dot push. We don't want to push it. We will be pushing it on to /profile maybe. Yeah, do we have profile pages? Did I taught you that? Yep, I taught you that. Yeah, profile page. So we'll be redirecting into profile. All right, so let's see if this actually works in action or how many errors we are going to get. Okay. Axios is not exported. This is again Axios problem. There we go. Save this. Hopefully things are okay. Expect errors. That's the only advice I can give. Okay, now we are on to the login page. Just to refresh. Can I go on to sign up? Yep. Visit login. Yeah, working nice. So the email is one. My bad. Email also needs to go ahead and work with this. Nobody is able to see this because of my bad CSS. Text dash black. And the password is also going to have a text dash black. Should be okay. Now also since we are here, let's also change the things. So login will be based on not like this. We'll be having a loading. So if loading is true, that means processing. Otherwise, we are doing what? We are login. Okay, and button disabled. I'll not do this. You can do this. All right. So I'll just go ahead and say 1@gmail.com and we'll be having 123456, the securest password ever. Let's try login. And no, I don't want to save it. Did we call it even? There we go. On click, login. On click, login. So all right, so this should be working. Do we have any data? Okay, so we are receiving the data till here. That is nice, but it's not getting redirected. Okay, we should be getting a redirection. Login. Don't want to save this. Let's check out and let's see what are the mistakes that we are doing. Console log. Okay, the server is... Okay, so we are getting a lot of errors. Probably we should be going back onto the code file. There is a lot of... Okay, we need to check out what is going on wrong. API/user/login. That seems to be correct. And since we are receiving the data on the backend side, that means at least this 123456 1@gmail.com. Do we have 1@gmail.com? And the passwords are coming in. Okay, at least we are getting this on the backend side. So now the problem is technically on the backend side. So 2 times we have requested the body and we were able to encrypt that. And we were able to actually get this saved user as well. Okay. Oh, I'm checking onto the sign up route. I should be checking into the login route. I should be in the login route. Did I make a mistake? Okay, so here is this. This is coming up from here. So we are getting this request.body. And now we are getting this. So we should be actually checking this. Token data. We are getting the user. No user. Here we are getting the user. Again, this debugging will take some time. So this is the real world development. That's how it happens. And let's see if the user is actually getting some tokens. So let's see in the application. And here in the localhost, we don't get any token. All right, so this is going to take a little while to debug. So let me go ahead and quickly debug this and we'll tell you what is actually happening here. Welcome to the real world development. This is how it happens. And yes, actually I found the bug. It was nothing. I just forgot to save the file. There was a big white dot. I couldn't see it. And that actually turned out. And notice here, I didn't change anything. I was just logging out a few things to check out whether user exists or not. Not even a single line changed, but yes, I made a couple of requests. Then I realized I need to actually restart the server. That is all. That is all I did. And nothing changed and it works nicely. Now I don't have a logout route yet. We'll do that soon, but this is how we have. I can go into my application now. Just after restarting, I can see there is a token being included up here. And I'm also getting redirected to profile. But there is a problem. There's a lot of problem here. I can still go back to my login route. This shouldn't be happening. And I can directly access these profile, which shouldn't be happening if I'm not logged out. So there's no controlling mechanism right now. Also, there is no logout mechanism right now. Now, I'll obviously push this code. So let's do it right now, in fact. So I'll just go ahead and push all of this. Yep, all of this. And we'll say sign up and login. Complete. Good. I'll just complete this, commit this, and obviously I'll push it. Why don't you use command line? I don't. It's just easier. It's fun. So I'm just going with that. So what we have done right now and what position we are, that's the most important to evaluate right now. So let's just go ahead and quickly evaluate this. So we are at a position now, our front end is working, our back end is working. We are able to register a user in the database. We have tried that a couple of times, it works. And we are also able to log in a user. There was a small hiccup where I paused for a minute, but again, it was nothing more. I just had to save and restart the server. So once I restarted it, it worked absolutely fine. Also, I'm pushing the code in the GitHub as well so that you can also see and check out what is happening, how is it happening, and all of that. Now, there are a couple of challenges in front of us. First of all, there is no logout button, so we need to design that. We also don't have any kind of a mechanism to stop the user from visiting the profile if they are not authenticated. And if they are authenticated, they have the token, we have no way to stop them and protect the routes that the logged in user should not be seeing the sign up and the login page. He should be seeing just the profile and all of these pages. So we need to find a way, and of course I'm talking about middleware, so we'll be talking about them. So this is all what we will be doing in the upcoming videos. I hope you are enjoying them. I'll take a small pause. It's already like 4 o'clock in the night or in the morning. So I'll record the rest of the videos tomorrow. So just stay tuned, hit that subscribe. I would be super, super helpful if you drop me a thank note on Twitter or LinkedIn. There's so much effort that is going on in that. So in case you wish, you can do that. Otherwise, it's totally fine. Let's catch up in the next video or after a break and finish up our middleware and remaining of the part. Let's see you in the other side of the video or the next video, whatever that is. All right. Hey there, everyone. Hitesh here. One more time into the Next.js series. So what we were doing in the Next.js series, it's tough to remember. Just kidding, just kidding. I exactly know what we were doing in the last video. And yes, in this video, we'll be taking this a step further. So we have achieved the goal of signing up the user, logging in the user, even producing a token and storing that token into the user cookies. But right now there are a couple of issues that we want to take down. The first one being some of my pages are not protected. I want to protect them, and obviously the middleware will kick in here. The middleware, how it works in Next.js is little different, so you need to understand that part as well. There are a couple of other use cases as well, which I'll discuss in this video. And on top of that, we want to simply achieve a route where we can have /me or something where anybody can get their own information from the database. Right now, we don't have a ton of information, but whatever the information is, we would love to extract that. And obviously, we need to click up with the logout route as well. We haven't worked on that, so we'll be working on that as well. I think that's enough for this video, and we'll see. If there is a little bit more to explore or something, we'll definitely go ahead and do that as well. All right. So let's share the screen here. So this is what we have been doing. Now let's run this first and foremost, npm run dev, so that we can see what is happening, how is it happening, and is it all okay. So if I just go ahead and refresh this, hopefully this is working. Yep, this is working. Let's try to change the number with some name. Yep, it's working. But this is nothing is protected. I can still go ahead and visit the login page as well. So everything is just back and pass and forth. Let's also see. Let's also try to log in again. Let me see the database. We have 2@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and try to log in with that. So we'll just go with the 2@gmail.com because I set up the expiry time for 1 day. It's not yet 24 hours, but still I would love to just set it up. Password, very secure one, 1234556, very, very secure one. Let's log in. It's processing, nice. And we are redirected to the profile page. Let's right click, inspect. Is there a shortcut of going directly into the application? Just let me know if you know in the comment section. So I have the token. So that is all clear. That part is still working nicely. So let's go back and let's see how we can do that. Now, first thing that I would like to take down is a logout button, that how we can actually have a logout. So for this, I have to create a logout route. Should be fairly simple. Obviously, we need to first create a backend portion of it. Then we need to call that logout button or that method or that API route from the front end part of it. So let's start with the backend. In the APIs, we have users/login, sign up. We'll create another one, which is for logout. So let's create another folder. And obviously, without any thought, we'll just call it as logout. We know this is a backend, so we know this is going to be route.ts. There we go. Now, basics of this logout is going to remain same. We don't need to create any post request for that, because the way how this is going to do a logout is simply just clear out the token that you have. There are a lot of ways how people do it. Some people actually create a token and save the token expiration time as well, refresh token. There are a lot of ways. We'll be going with the basic. I want to just clear out the token. Now, in order to clear out the token, there is nothing too much to worry about. I'll just first bring the next response because that will be doing this. And we will be using next response majorly request. No, not request. Okay, let's go ahead and do this export. Obviously, this will be async. Function, I'll just use the get request for that. Get, and we don't need any of this here. So anybody can just make a get request just directly. That's it. All right. So how we are going to log out? First and foremost is go ahead and work on with the try catch. The catch part is easy, so we'll do that. So let's try with the try catch, and then we'll be saying error. That could be any suggestion, please. No suggestion. There we go. So, and we'll be saying next response. We won't be dealing up with the errors. Suggestions are good, but they're not always the best. We'll be having a JSON error response just like that. And we are having an extra dot. All right. So that part is done. Now, only thing that's remaining is create a response, which is capable of removing the cookies. Why this is giving me a problem? Is it extra? Yeah, this one was extra. All right. So let's create a response. How do we create a response? Response, if I can write that. And we simply go ahead and use the next response. And with this, we want to create a JSON. Remember, we are not returning the response yet. We are just trying to create a response object. So with this, I'll hit an enter, just like this. We'll create a message of logout successful and a success of true also I want to send. Success of true, and that is it. Now this is my response. This response now, since it's a response of type next response, this can actually interact with my cookies. So I can go ahead and say, hey response, go ahead and interact with cookies. There is an S at the end of it. And then we can go ahead and use a set, and that's it. So what we are doing here is response. No, this should be a smaller response. So token, we are setting the cookie token as empty, and we are also setting some of the options here, which are HTTP true and expire. We are just expiring it right now immediately. Although there is no need of this expiration because just HTTP true will actually do the job. But anyways, if we are just doing it, that's also. Don't forget to return the response because right now we have done a lot of work, but we haven't returned the response. And that is it. Now you are completely capable of logging out the user. But the point is how you are going to do this logout, because there is right now no place where this logout actually works. So you need to find a place where this logout actually works. So I'll walk you through that. You can just choose any page and can do a logout there. The logout that we'll be doing is going to be simply on which page we should be doing it. That's a confusing statement. I'll be doing it in the profile, not into the ID. So in case you remember, we have this profile and we have this /ID. Wherever you wish, you can do this. I'll actually do this directly into the profile. Again, there is no strong choice there. You can definitely inject a header, a navigation bar, can put a button there. That's not my goal. My goal is to get you familiarized and comfortable with Next.js. So a button, wherever that is, you now know how that is going to work. So in this profile page, let's go ahead and add a button. First, we're going to do is simple and HR. So there we go. And after this, let's go ahead and add a button. So we'll just go ahead and say, hey, button. This button is going to say logout. All right. And we'll add a couple of classes here as well, so that button at least looks decent. So we'll be having I'll be happy with the suggestion, whatever they provide us. All right, let's see if that actually works. I'll say, yeah, that's a decent button. If I can just add a little bit of the margin on the top. Margin top 4. Yep, I'm happy with this button. Now this button alone is not going to work definitely. We need to set up an on-click on that. So on-click, we'll be calling this one as logout. This reverse approach is always good because first when you actually click this or declare this method on click, automatically the suggestions are improved. So that's why I love this. All right, so let's create a method of this. So const logout, and we'll be doing like this. All right. Now, before we do this, obviously we need to make this because right now this is a client, not a client component. This is a server component. So let's go ahead and create this as a client. How do we do this? A simple uh, decorator-ish will be saying use client. There we go. Now this is a client component. What do we need in this? We need Axios for that. So we'll be saying Axios from Axios. That's the first part. We'll be also redirecting the user or probably providing some linking as well. So we'll be using this next link. There we go. And what else? I think that is it. I think that is it, all that we need. All right, so how do we log out a user? Really simple. Just go ahead and simply have a try catch. We have done this many times, so that should be all easy for you now. And for the error part, we'll be doing a console log of the error dot message, but I'll also give you an assignment as well. We also need to provide an any here. And after this, we'll be having a message, which will be a toast dot error. Suggestions, please. No suggestions. And here we can say error dot message. Obviously, we haven't brought in the toast, so I'll just bring in the toast. You decide how is the proper way to bring it up. So toast, and that is from React Toastify. Not React Toastify, React Hot Toast. There we go. This is obviously not a proper implementation, but I'll just leave this as a simple exercise for you. Now, how do we do this? Make a simple GET request. That's it. So we'll be saying Axios dot GET request, because that's what we are handling. Where does this GET request go? It into /API /users /logout. This is where it goes. And again, this is asynchronous operation, so we need to provide an await as well. This logout is also not asynchronous, so let's go ahead and add this async so that it's happy. You can actually trap the response as well in case you wish, but I don't think that is required. So if you wish, you can actually provide better messages with that. But I'll go ahead and say toast.successful. Obviously, this is not going to print it anywhere, but I also want to push the router somewhere. So we haven't used the router because once user is logged out, he should be pushed back to login page. So we'll be saying import use router from next router. Okay, I'm happy with this. And let's go ahead and say I want to create router from use router. Nice. And this router will be capable of pushing to /login. All right, so looks okay to me. Let's try. Let's test this out and see how many bugs and errors we have got. All right, so okay, next router not mounted. All right. Why the next router is not mounted? That's my bad, because this use router is not from router. This is from navigation. I told you we actually got this bug many times. Let's go. All right, looks happy now. Let's go ahead and try. Is there some video recording issue? Let's see if we have this token. Do we have the token? Token. And I don't have a token. That's good. That's good. That means I'm properly logged out. So our logout functionality is working. That's good to know. All right. So now that our logout functionality is working, let's go ahead and work on that how the middleware actually works. For this, we have to actually study a little bit. We have to close all of this and this. Let's study the middleware. And here it is. This is file not found. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want to study middleware. Thanks for understanding my typos. So now it says that middleware allows you to run code before a request is completed. So obviously, this is exactly what I want to do is before when my request is completed, I want to run something. The advantage of this, my request doesn't reach to the completion phase. It actually is being checked intermediately in between. So if somebody is not authorized to visit the profile page, it will stop it before doing that. If somebody is not authorized to visit the login page, the user who is already logged in, so I can just stop him before visiting that page and I can redirect him to some other page. So that's the goal of it. So that's a nice one before completing a request. And let me zoom this again. Then based on incoming request, you can modify the response by rewriting, redirecting, modify the request or response headers. Sometimes we inject some things in the headers as well. For example, maybe user ID. So some things you want to inject in the response headers or the request header, you can do that. Or you can redirect this, modify this, however you go with that. Middleware run before the cached content and routes are matched. So this is what they say. Use the file middleware.ts. Now this is a really important word here. You have to use this as middleware.ts. There is no exception in that. There is no other file name that you can use. It needs to go into, I'll show you where it needs to exactly go and how it runs, so don't worry on that part. Although it is mentioned that it goes as same level as pages, app, or source, so we obviously need to put it inside the source. We're talking everything about the source. If applicable, yes, source is applicable for us. So we need to put it into the root of source, not the root of project. Remember this. Okay, and now how does the middleware looks? This is how it looks. In fact, instead of talking about it here, we can just copy it. That would be great. And we can simply go up and talk about it. So let me go back my code editor. Here it is. Again, as I told you, it is inside the app directory. Just to show you again, yep, this is inside the source. So not in the app, inside the source. All right. So we'll just right click on the source, create a new file. This will be middleware.ts or JS, whatever you're using. I'm using TS, so obviously I'll be using the TS. You can copy and paste the code, which we just copied here just a moment ago. And this is exactly how your middleware looks like. Now there are two parts of the middleware. The first portion of it is the logic part. And the second part is the matching part, that on what route you want to match and you want to run your middleware. So you can define a lot of things here. So what I'll do is, instead of giving it as a string like this, you can actually give it an array and it will match all of this. That is what I found in the documentation, and I found it much more useful. So the route that I want to match is slash. And by the way, there is also something more interesting in the docs. So there is a pattern matching as well. So you can match the file patterns as well. For example, here you can say /about, /: path, and whatever the path comes up, asterisk means anything. You can also match the paths like this, like this. So there is a regex that you can involve. There's a lot of this. So you can see somewhere here. Let me zoom out. So somewhere here, they actually mentioned that, hey, you can match a lot of paths, a lot of these details. So all of them are mentioned up here. I'll just go with the basics that I want to match. So I want to match this one. I also want to match /profile. You can match /profile / anything as well that comes up. I also want to match if somebody is visiting /login, and I also want to match /signup. Okay. These are the paths that I'm worried as of now. If I have more, I can come back in the middleware and can just simply write the code for that. Super easy. So this part is a matcher. I hope that is clear now. Now let's go back on to this part. I'll just remove this comment. Somehow they're bothering me a little. Okay. So we have this function middleware, and right now it's redirecting just the response. And we'll just remove everything what is it is returning, because we want to write our own logic. Now, what do we want to do? Now we have a couple of paths which are public paths. For example, login and your sign up. These are public paths. If somebody has the token, he should not be able to access those public paths. All right. And there are some paths which are protected path. So somebody who is not allowed or who is not logged in, he should not be seeing profile. So something like that. So first we need to find out that how we can find out what are the paths, because right now we have no access to the paths. And luckily for us, this next request actually gives us a lot of things. Next request, by the term next request, I mean to say this request. So this will be helping us in finding on what path you are. So you can go ahead and declare a simple path variable just like this. And this request has access to this next URL.path name. Yep, that is so simple. And no, it is not a client side or a client component. This is how it always needs to be. So once you have this, now you can match that what is your path name. So we'll be declaring that some of the paths are public and some of the paths are not public. So we just need to find out which one are public. So const is public paths. And for the public path, what we're going to do is we'll just check if the path is equals to login or the path equals to sign up. I think these are the two public paths we are worried about, login and sign up. So this should not be visible to somebody who has token. All right. So is public path, again, if it is login, then it will be true. If it is sign up, then also it will be true. Now, next thing is we need to extract the token. Now, this is very common. We have already seen that while injecting the token, that this request is completely capable of going into the user's cookie and we can extract the token from it. Super simple. We can go ahead and say, hey, request, just access the cookies. And from that, just like we were using set, we can actually use the get method of this and we can grab the token. Now this token might be there, might not be there, but if it is there, so optionally it might be there, that's why the optional, we can extract the value or we can just provide the empty one. So in any case, there is a variable known as token which has some value, either the actual token value or completely empty, that's fine. Okay, now I have two variables here and I can decide based on them that whether somebody should be able to access a path or not. So if the path is public and you are having the token, that means you should not visit the login. You should not be able to visit signup. So let's go ahead and code out that. So we're going to go ahead and say if the path is public path and you have token, then I would love to redirect you. Now the redirect response is like that, but there are a couple of other ways as well how you can actually provide that. This is also good. There is no problem in it. And you'll also see some of the documentation code that is written somewhat a little bit different. In this, you can directly use the redirect. There is no problem. I haven't found any. If you find any, let me know in the comment section. But you can actually create a new URL. That is what I found. And new URL, no, suggestions are not good. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, this guy needs to redirect somewhere. We need to redirect him somewhere because he's trying to access sign up and login. So I don't want that. So let's redirect him onto /. That's it. And then the second is you have to use request, and then we can say .next URL. So I found this is a little bit tiny better. This one needs to be request. Come on, can't I write request? All right. So again, you can directly use a redirect and can work with that. There is no problem with that. I found this one a little bit more reliable, but again, I'll check out documentation. As in the Next.js, things are evolving, so I'm just also learning as we go. So this is first path we have handled. We have redirected the authenticated users to the / of the application, or in case you want to redirect him to /profile, that's your choice, totally your choice, maybe dashboard, whatever it is, that's up to you. Now, what if the URL is not public and token is not there? So in that case, obviously you should log in first. So we'll just go with that. If there is no public path and there is no token. So in that case, we'll be just redirecting him to login. And then again, we'll be using the same format, request.next URL, so that it automatically moves to the next URL. And it looks like we are having some issues with the curly braces. Should be happy now. Yeah, the indentation is messed up. It shouldn't be like that. I think this one can go here and that will do a little bit cleanup. Yeah, I think better. All right, so now we can see that this is all there. And let's see if we can still visit the profile. Let's save this and let's see how many errors we got. Looks like a good day, no errors. And let's go back to our application. Okay, let's try to visit profile. Okay, I'm not able to visit profile. What if I visit profile and /Hitesh? I can still visit it because I haven't mentioned that after the profile, am I looking for all the path? Remember we saw in the documentation, we can use asterisk and all those regex to do so, but I'm happy with this. This is a simple assignment for you. But I cannot visit the profile because that is now protected. Now let's see the login version of it. So I'll just go ahead and say to@gmail.com, password secure one, you know it, 1 2 3 4 5 6, login. Processing, and now we are on the login page. Can I still visit the login? Nope, I'm redirected to the / which is home. But I can actually go ahead and visit the profile as well. We should get a profile link here on the home page as well. But anyways, it's fine. It's fine. We now understand that how we can extract and write a middleware as well. So that's a good start. Now, one more thing is, notice here that we are able to grab the token as well. Can we extract some data from the token as well? Because yes, it was us who actually designed this token. So we can definitely 100% get some data from the token as well. Let's go ahead and try this out. Let's go ahead and create an API route for it. So inside the API users, and let's create a new folder. What should I call it? A user, a me user, a me, yeah, whatever the naming convention you want to follow, you can go with that. I'll probably go with me. I think that's okay. And then here we'll have a new file. So we'll be having route.ts. There we go. Now, how we can grab this information? All right. Now, this grabbing the information is going to be done probably multiple times because we will have the token. Now we know how we can extract the cookies and token. And token, if you remember, if you forgot that, let me remind you again. At the time of login, we actually injected a lot of information in this token. I'll just close this one. This is the token data. So I can technically extract all this information if I know this token secret, which I know because I created it. So I can actually do this. Now, I can do it directly here as well, or I can create a helper method which can help me to extract this token. So maybe later on, at some point, if I want to use it, I can call this method. So time to go into helpers. Let's go up here. And in the helpers, we have this. We have no helpers as of now. That's so sad. We should be having some more helpers. So let's create a new file and let's call this one as, why it's not writing? There we go. Now it's writing. So we can say get data from token. Very elaborative. .ts, of course. Okay, how we can grab the token data. Now get token data is super simple. Just a few lines of codes. I'll do that quickly. Again, this requires the next request. Otherwise, how we will be doing it? All right, and also we'll be needing JWT. JWT suggestions from JSON Web Token. Now let's go ahead and simply export a function, which we'll be calling it as get data from token. Very elaborative. I like that. And we can have a request just like this, and we'll close this. All right, how we can get that? Obviously, we'll do a try catch. The catch part is super easy, super simple. We can go ahead and get any, and we can say throw, not like that. Throw, come on, I can write that. Throw a new error, and we'll be throwing an error message. All right, that's all we'll be doing. Now, how we can grab this? We can simply go ahead and say, hey, request. You can access the cookie, you can get the token value just like this, or there might be a case where it is empty, so we'll just go ahead and use this. And we'll store this token into a variable, or you can call this as encoded token because right now the value is encoded. Now we need to get a decoded token as well. So for that, I can use this JWT. And this JWT has an option of .verify. Not only it verifies the token, but it also actually extracts the information as a response of this function. So I can just go ahead and say process token and then process.env. This is not my variable. I've created a sample env for you so that we can actually grab this variable from here. I'll not open mine one because there's a password in that. So I'll just go ahead and paste this. Make sure you follow this exclamation as well if you are in the TypeScript. Now, as I told you, this actually contains a lot of information. So you can call this one as decoded token because it is now having this information, and you can extract this information. Now it's up to you. What do you want to return? You can return the entire decoded token, or you can just extract the ID from it. Now we have to check that what we actually injected into this one in order to extract this. So I need to go into my app API and login route. Let's see, we injected this ID, which is actually user._ID. Okay, so we are happy with this. All the keys that you are setting, that needs to remain same: ID, username, email. So this key is really important. So we'll be simply going ahead and getting it like that. Now this is going to give you a problem because there is no surety that the ID will be here because it doesn't know the data type of it. I'll not declare any types here. That's not my goal. So I'll just inject an any here. Not a good idea. I explicitly say do this in my TypeScript series, but we'll do it here. All right. So now that this method is available for me, which is get data from token, now we can actually go back into the me route. Again, I'll just close this login one so that we don't get confused. Let's import this method and simply work with that. So we'll just say get data from token. So there we go. We got this method here. And we'll be needing the request and response because this method is dependent on this request. Somebody needs to send it there. So we'll be saying, hey, import, give me, not like that. Yeah, give me next request and response from the next server. We'll also be needing the user, and that user will come up from models, user model. I think that's correct. Let me check that. So we are having this models, and inside the models, user models. Okay, that's correct. That's correct. And we'll be needing the database connectivity as well. So let's go ahead and simply say connect. There we go. Obviously, the connection needs to establish. So first and foremost, let's do this. Now let's create a simple method. Don't go with the suggestion. In this case, you will explicitly make it go wrong. So let's go ahead and say export async. I'll accept that. And then let's call it a function. This will be a get method. A get, yeah, we are not getting any data. So get method is fine. And we'll be saying request. That request will be type of next request. And we can have it like this. All right, next up, obviously our try catch. So we'll go ahead with the try catch. The catch part is easy. So we'll just go ahead and say any here. And then we'll be returning a next response. No, not like that. Next response dot JSON. I want to return a JSON. Yeah, that's what I like. Now, what do we want to do in the try catch part? Simple. Just call this get data from token and pass on a request to it. That is it. It will give you a return response. We coded it like that. Return the decoded. It gives me an ID. So I can just store that into a variable now. And obviously this will take some time. So let's just go ahead and await that. And that's why we created a sync. And this will give me a user ID. That's my variable. So I can call it as user ID underscore ID, whatever you like. That's totally up to you. And then it's time to find a user based on this user ID. So user has the superpower to query with the database. And I can go ahead and say find by ID or find one, whichever you like. Both of them are going to serve same in this situation. So I'll just use the find one. And I'll just give you that, hey, find based on underscore ID. And I'll give you the ID, user ID. So a space would be nice. Okay, I made it all caps. No, I just want I caps, not the T. I'm happy with this. Okay, so now once this is done, what more we need to do? Await, because that's a database operation. Database is another continent. And we'll store this as a user. So you have given me back a user. Now this will give you everything. I don't want everything because if you check out the database, it has ID, username, email, password, verified is admin. So you can select your fields, which one you want, and you can deselect the fields which you don't want. So I'll just say, hey, I will go ahead and set select and the password, that is what I don't want. So you can put a negative sign there by putting a space. Sadly, there is no comma. I think the comma would make more sense, but sadly there's no comma. If you want that, I don't want maybe is admin. So you can go ahead and put that as well, but I'm happy with this one only. All right, so now I have a user. Now what can I do with this user? I can return a response that, hey, here's your user. Now do whatever you like. It's an object. So I'll just go ahead and say return next response, response, come on. And we'll have a JSON just like this. And in here, we'll be saying a message first and foremost. Come on. Message user found, and then the data, we'll be sending the data like this. So we'll be sending user. All right, looks good. You can send the data directly as well in case you wish. That's okay. And now we can simply have a save on this one. All right. So now we have designed a route which can actually help us to simply go ahead and work with this. So it's totally up to you that how you want to utilize it. Maybe you want to make another request. Let's do it. Let's have fun. So in this /profile, let's actually grab the user's ID. Now we know how to do this. So as soon as somebody lands here, I want to fire an Axios request to me, and I want to grab that user. Let's try that. Let's try if we can do this. And inside the profile, we'll go into page. Now, obviously, I want to have this get details method, and this get details method will run. Let's just run it on a button click. You can run it with the use effect as well as soon as the page loads, but I want this one to run it on a method call. So we'll go up here. We'll design the method. So I'll just minimize this logout, not interested in that. Let's call this as get user details like this. And obviously this will be async just like this. Now, how do we do this? Pretty simple. We need Axios. It will fire a get request to /user/me. Nice. I like that. This will await because it's a request, and we'll grab a user out of it or a response out of it first, not the user. Now with this, we can go ahead and say a console log first, and we'll say res.data. All right. And since this is a res.data, we actually need a state as well, where we can pass on this information. Without this, it's not going to be very helpful. But again, it's up to you. I need a state. So I'll call this one as data. You can call it as user as well. I'll call this one as data. No, I don't need this. I don't need this either. I'll have a string which says nothing just for fun. useState is not available. Why is it not available? It should be here. React, and we'll be having useState from React. Okay. Now, once we have this, now I can use this setData method to actually use this. So setData, what is happening? No, I don't want Mongoose set. Why? Unobvious suggestions. So we'll be having setData, and that data will get res.data. But the problem is the data is not inside the res.data. It's actually inside since we have passed on information like this. So let me show you this. We are passing the data. So res.data has all of this data. So res.data dot user will have the information. Yeah, we actually accidentally made it more messy. So further down the data, and then further I can extract this underscore ID. Yeah, that's messy. And what we're going to do is just below this profile page, we will get an h2, and this h2 will get some data. So if the data is there, do something, do get a variable, just like this. Probably not. We'll just first get the strings. Otherwise, do something else. So what is happening? So if there is nothing inside the data, so what we can do is we can write some of the things. Let's actually evaluate this. That would be better. If data equals nothing, because that's the default state, remember nothing. So if data is nothing, then we'll be saying, hey, this is nothing. So let's just go ahead and inject nothing here, just like this. And if there is some data, then we can actually go ahead and inject, instead of this string, let's go ahead and give it a link as well. So I'll just go ahead and say link, just like this. Okay. And why is it giving me this problem here? That, oh, href is missing. Okay, I can add that, no problem. And I'll move it to the next line. No, I'll do it here. Okay. href. Okay, where do I want this one to go? So I'll use the backtick. I'll say slash profile. Okay. But since I have extraction of the ID, now I can go ahead and slash and put this data. Although we should be calling it as ID, but I think that is good. All right. Now, one more thing. Who will be calling this? There is no button to call it. All right. So let's create another button who can actually call this. So I'll just duplicate this one. And I'll say that, hey, you will be responsible for get user details. So, yep, get user details. I don't think you will be happy as a blue. So we'll just go ahead and say you will be what? Violet, purple. You get purple. A little darker shade of purple. 900. No, I'm not happy with this. Okay. What else colors? Green. Yep, we'll go green. 800 green. Okay, I know. Okay, so this still says logout. This shouldn't be saying logout. This will be get user details. All right. Right now it says nothing, which is good. I also want to actually highlight this nothing as a little bit. So we'll say class, and we'll be having a little bit of padding, rounded, and we'll be having a bg dash. I'll use green this time, not the orange. You made a lot of fun of that. And we'll be saying 500. And padding. Not padding like this. What am I doing? Padding dash 3. Let's go. Yeah, better. Okay, so let's see get user details. And there we go. Right now we are having an empty. That means we are not getting any user details. let's see what we are doing wrong. It says a message, user found, and then we have this data and username and email. Okay, so this is coming up into the res.data. So what we have to do is res.data, and then inside that we need to go inside the data, and then we need to grab the underscore ID, and then we actually can grab the ID. So I think this is correct. Why it is not mentioning the details here? So let's check what we are doing wrong in this case. Okay, my bad. I actually didn't set up anything inside this link. My bad. We never injected the variables. So my bad. So we need to inject this data here. So the URL was there, but the value was never there. There we go. Told you, small bug. So now we can actually click on this, and there we go. Not looking good. This profile should be a little bit above, but anyways, you get the idea that how we are able to grab the user. So now any user, we are able to track him down. So that's nice. And the logout middleware, that's working nice. Get user details. We get this, and now we can actually click this. We can actually grab all of this. So instead of running this method on a button click, just like we are doing here, we can actually use an use effect hook, and just whenever somebody visits this page, we can load his information there and can directly just display there. So I think that's a great start that we have done. So that's really nice. And I think this is wrapping up our application quite a lot, that we are able to do so much in this one. I'm super happy that we are actually on this phase, that it's working nicely. Now, a couple of more things what we can do is, we haven't talked about how we can utilize the mail trap, which I actually discussed. It's probably logged out. So we haven't discussed that. I'll close this one. I'll close this one. I need to push this onto GitHub as well. So let's go ahead and do this. And I'll go ahead and say, hey, let's add everything like this. And we'll be saying added middleware. Come on. Added middleware. And what else we have done? We have added middleware. We have also worked on me route. Okay, commit this. And of course, we want to push it. All right, so that you can see the repository is available on my GitHub account. It's pretty easy to find. You can definitely easily find that. All right, so I think that is what we'll be doing in this video, but there is a little bit more that we need to have an action plan. So we have gone through with quite a lot of details in this one. We have gone through with the middlewares. I showed you how to protect some pages, routes, and all of that from the server side, grabbing the cookies and all of that. A couple of more things which are easier things now is how we can first and foremost shoot an email. So obviously we'll be creating a helper file for that. And once the email is being shot, now the values are there in the database. So I want to update the values in the database. That's my concern now. Get this token into the database as well and send this token to the user email as well. That's what my action plan is right now. And obviously we'll figure out the plan as we go. We make a lot of mistakes and all of that. So that's a part of the things. I hope you are enjoying these series. If you want more details or more projects or something, let me know in the comment section. I'll definitely love to do that for you guys. And consider hitting subscribe. There's a lot of effort going on. I would appreciate that. Let's go ahead and catch up in the next video, or if you're watching all in continuation, just a small break and catch up on the other side. Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, and welcome to almost the final-ish video of this series. I'm saying almost because I'm not sure we'll be able to do all of this, or we'll be extending this series. Depends on you. Just let me know in the comments. So the one of the last thing that's remaining, almost last, is how we can actually retrieve the user, update some data in the database, as well as send an email. Now, sending the email has a lot of issues, and there are a lot of good ways, okayish ways, and the bad ways of doing it. I found that luckily we are in this TypeScript, JavaScript environment where things are super easy for us to work on with that. We have this package known as Node Mailer, which helps us to do almost everything that we want to do. But there are new players which are coming around in the market, which are handling these mailing into a new and creative way. I'll talk more about them in probably some another video. This time we'll be going with the core Node Mailer way. Also, there is an exception that I've taken in this particular video. That is, usually I keep my mailing helper as just to send email, nothing else. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't generate any token or anything like that. It's a special helping file which helps me to send an email. That's it. But in this case, I'm actually generating my tokens within the mailer as well, because in this use case, it actually makes sense to generate these tokens within the mail itself. And I'll show you the walkthrough as well. And again, I always say there is no good practice, bad practice. It depends on what the project is, what scale is, and is it the maintainable code, is it not? So that's all it is. In this project, since it's not very scale, we are not talking about like making thousands and thousands of files into it. So we'll keep our mail and we'll keep it in such a way that we are able to generate the token within the mail itself, the mail helper file. And based on whether the user is requesting to verify an email or forgot the password, I'll walk you through with a couple of scenarios of how you can do it. That's the one part. The second part is, how do you want to verify the user? That's up to you. There are a couple of ways. You can do it all in the backend. You can do a mix of backend and frontend. That is also totally doable. It's totally your approach. Again, there is no good right and wrong here. It's totally approachable. Whichever you feel, you can do that. In case I talk about just the backend approach, then the URL formatting needs to be in that way. And if you are looking for the front-end part of it, then obviously you need to have a front-end page of it. Both have their advantage. If you do it totally on the back-end, then there is nothing much. You can just redirect the user onto a home page or something. But if you bring the user on some page and then the verification happens, then we can provide a message to the user that, hey, verification was successful. That's totally up to you. How you want to do it, it's totally up to you. I'll show you and walk you through with both of the approach that it makes you comfortable with both the approaches. All right. So first, this is the service that I'll be using, known as Mail Trap. The one good thing I like about the Mail Trap is, again, go ahead, do a sign up. They have a free tier. I'm on the free tier. I'm not buying it because it's a good service, but I'm happy without buying it. For testing, we'll be using this email. And as soon as you go ahead and create add inbox, it was empty, so I added an inbox. And simply go ahead and click on this inbox after this. And what you'll notice that on the left-hand side, you get all the inbox. And you get all your integrations here. So you can go ahead and integrate it directly with the curl. I'll really like that how thoroughly and deeply they are working on. Almost every single thing is available for us. We are using the node mailer. In case you are using play mailer or something for Java or something, you can still use it. So I'll go with the node mailer. And all you have to do is copy this. And the good thing is, while copying, it also copies your password. So obviously, I'll resetting this one. So again, this will obviously expose my password as well. But again, this is just a test account. I can reset this, reset the credential, just a one click, not going to be bothering it much. Now, one more thing that you should really know about it is, let me show you this by opening up the Google and try to search for JS. And this will be useful information. Notice here the URL. It says search q equals and something. Now, this is a classic JavaScript. There is nothing in like too much important in this case. What I'm asking you is how you can actually grab this information. How you can grab the URL information. Now, grabbing the URL information requires a couple of things. You can grab it from the backend. We have already seen that by creating a square bracket ID. We can directly pick the params.id. That's one way. But if you're having this question mark or something like this, you can still go ahead and click on inspect. And in the console, clean this up. And we can just go ahead and say window.location, if I can write that. And then you can go ahead and look for a search. And this gives you the search parameter, everything after question mark q equals. And I can go ahead and later on split this up and divide it based on the question mark. So everything before the question mark, after the question mark, I can grab all of this data. So this is basic that we have. Now, coming back, why I'm showing you all of this? Yes, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Let me go back into my helpers. Where are my helpers? And here are my helpers. I'll create a new file and feel free to call it anything. I'll just call this one as mailer.ts, of course. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is there are a couple of ways how you can do this. For example, if you have a domain.com, come on, don't do this. Domain.com, there we go. You can go ahead and write something like a verify token and then slash and the token name. So whatever you want to write. So that's a one way of doing the thing. Another way of doing the exact same thing is how you craft your email. It will be whole dependent on that and which approach to take. So another approach is having this again, domain.com. Why are you doing this to me? Domain.com, and then you can write something like this, slash verify token, and then you can have simply a token, question mark, token equals whatever the token is. Now again, there are some easier way of doing the things. If you do it with the first way, this is almost looking like domain.com/profile and then send this. So we can extract it directly with the params ID. So we have the square bracket syntax, we studied about it. And this is also the syntax which we just studied, that we can actually grab it, anything that's a question mark, and then token equals all of that. We can extract that by using window.location.search. This second approach is better for me if I am actually using a client component. This approach is better for me if I'm doing everything from the server component. There is no right and wrong in this one. So again, make sure you choose whatever you're choosing a little bit wisely. Will make your life easier. And again, it's not like that, hey, this approach is not possible in the front end. It is possible, but easier way and making yourself an extra trouble, that's up to you. All right. So we have already installed the package of node mailer. We actually talked about that in the earlier. So we'll be just grabbing the node mailer. We also need to grab the user. I usually don't do this because I like to send the token and everything and update the information directly from the controller where I'm writing. But in this case, we'll be actually doing a little bit different. So just bear with me for a minute. All right, so we'll be getting the user, come on, from, and we'll be using, come on, @ / come on, no suggestions, models, and then this is / user model. There we go. This is the file name. And also we'll be encrypting that. So we'll be needing bcrypt.js. That's coming up from bcrypt.js. So these are the libraries that we'll be needing. Now, first of all, let's learn how we can send an email. Now, sending the email is actually super easy. If you'll go onto the node mailer website, you'll see that, hey, is it that simple? Yeah, it's actually that simple. So if I go ahead into npm install node mailer, we already did that. And all it takes here is the example. So in this example, you can see we create a transporter, which actually is node mailer.create transport. In this, you provide your host, port, secure, authentication, which will grab all the details from our SMTP host, which is Mailtrap. And then you simply go ahead and provide some options in the send mail. So these are all options. We'll actually create these options outside, so it's much more easier. From, to, subject, text, HTML, so you can just provide everything. And that's it. That's await.sendMail. That is all. Provide the options. So 2 lines of code. First is provide the create transport, and then this transport can just send the email with the options. Yeah, literally that simple. So this is all what we have as of now. Let's go back and see that how we can try this. Let's create a simple function and call this one as send email, which is perfect in this case. And obviously this is going to be a sync. And what information you'll be taking from the user, that is a big question. Now, what information do I expect from the user? First and foremost, I expect that he'll be sending me the email. Where do I want to send this email? Obviously, I need to know that. Then optionally, you might use the same file for sending the email for verify token, for forgot password as well. So both the tokens can be sent. And right now we'll talk only about the verify, but I'll still walk you through with the code that can be there for detecting the email type and all of that. In this case, we have just 2, but otherwise I prefer to have an enum for that. And based on that, I like to check that. So I'm telling you what approach I usually use and what I'm using in this case. So I'll just have this email type, and then also send me the user ID as well. Without this, I won't be able to do much. And I'll just go ahead and type any here so that it doesn't bother me much. And there we go. So this is my basic. So all right. Email to send, where should I send this email? Email type, that is it a verify email, forgot password, token email, or something else like that. And the user ID, because obviously I need to grab some information from that user, so I'll actually use this one as well. Again, it's not super required, but I'll actually use it to get some encrypted token. All right, first and foremost, let's go ahead and have the simple try catch. The catch part is always the easy, so I always take down this one. Super easy, just cast this as any. I don't know what the error type is. And then simply go ahead and say throw new, and we'll be saying error.error message. Not much worried, not much bothered about it. The first step is, now if you remember from our Excali draw, if we have this, yeah, here we have. If you remember, I told you that we need this hashed value. Now this hashed value can be generated by a variety of means and variety of encryption rounds as well. Bcrypt.js helps us to do all of this, but right now we don't have this. So how we can actually go ahead and get the value? So it's super simple. We are using the user ID. So based on the user ID, we have to provide some string that can be encrypted around. So obviously there is a requirement for this. You can go ahead and give him any gibberish, which doesn't really make sense, but you can. There is nothing which is stopping you. So all you have to do is simply ask bcrypt.js that, hey, bcrypt.js, I need a hash value. Yep, that's it. And in the hash value, you have to provide that, hey, what should I use to do the hash value? Like what am I encrypting? What is the string that I'm encrypting? You can give any string because it doesn't have a meaning. It's just in the database. We want to match it. But in this case, I want to actually provide the user ID. And then you have to provide what number of rounds that you want to go. So I'll just go ahead and go with the 10 rounds, and that's it. That is all I'm doing. Now, I don't have a guarantee that this user ID is going to be string or not, because there is a chance that user might throw up directly me MongoDB BSON ID, almost like JSON, but BSON. So I'll just go ahead and just use a simple toString method on top of it so that I'm 100% sure of it. Now let's go ahead. Obviously, this will take some time because we are using 10 rounds of encryption. So let's await this and call this one as const hashed token. All right, so the token generation part was super easy. There is nothing. I'll just write the comment here as well. That will be create a hashed token. All right, so this part was super easy. Now the next part is actually tricky. Now I want to update the user. I want to find a user, and in case you forgot that, let me go ahead and open the model for you. We have this thing, forgot password token, verify token, and all these. So I want to add these things into the token. All right. So how am I going to do this? Again, this is super simple. There is nothing to be worried, but there is something known as email type, and based on this, I want to update. So first, let's update regardless of what the email type is. So I'm going to go ahead and await this, obviously, a database operation. Database is another continent. So I'll go ahead and say user, and then user can actually run a find by ID and update. For this, I have to provide the ID. So I do have the user ID, so super helpful here as well. And then I can put up a comma, and then I can just use the verify token. So what I'll do is, the next thing is, actually suggestion is really nice here. Okay, so what I can do is, let me just go ahead and hit an enter here. This is fine. So I am first of all having this reset password token. No, I'm not, I don't want this. I want the verify token to be updated first. So I'll just go ahead and update the values. So this is my verify token. And obviously, if the time is for that, expiry time should be for the verify token time as well. So I have this. So the verified token that we have is getting this hash token. That's exactly what I want. First, make sure you understand this part. Find by ID looks for an ID and update the values. And user ID is the ID which will be looking for hunting the record in the database. And then only these fields will be updated, not all the fields. So verify token will get this new hash token. Verify token expiry will get the date.now and then these values. If you don't understand this, that's okay. It's nothing much more. We are giving it 36. So it's in milliseconds. So, 36 hours and all of that. So in case you want that, you can just do it like how many hours? 24 hours into converted into minutes and hours and all of that. I'll not go into that much of detail and depth. That's very basic. Now you can actually go ahead and say new equals to true and all of this. We don't need this third parameter, although that's nice, but I'll talk more about that in some other day. Right now, that's not important for us. This will do the job for us and we are happy with this. Okay. Now this is all happening when I'm assuming that my tokens are getting updated for verify token. But what if the email type is for the another one, which is forgot password token? Obviously, this is the token part of it. You need to grab the password from the request body and have to submit that as well. That's a different case. But actually, I can just entirely cut this out and just write a simple if case to understand that what type of email you are sending me up. So if the email type, and again, I usually do that with the enum, but in this case, I'll just go ahead and do capitalize of that. If the email type is verify, then I'm going to do all of this. Now, in case, else, if the email type is actually other one, which is the reset password, or I'll just use the reset. Then in this case, I'm going to paste this again, but I have to change the values. In that case, I'll just go ahead and use forgot password token, and of course the expiry will also be the forgot password token expiry. Again, really simple code, but again, we have just modified this. Now this email is usable for both the context, and we are just generating the token based on that. So that's super simple. Now next part is, this is all the settings that we are doing already in the database. So the value, by the time this method is called, the value should be there in the database now. Again, there are lots of good approaches of handling this scenario. Maybe you don't want to send an email unless all the values are set in the database. There are a lot of use cases of that. I'll not go into that one. Then the next step that we saw is use this node mailer and create a transport. So node mailer dot create transport, create transport, there we go. And we'll store that into a variable as well. We'll call this one as transporter, just like this. And there we go. We'll just end it like this. There we go. Now, what are all the options that are required here? Notice here it says service Gmail. We won't be using Gmail. Instead, what we're going to do is go on to Mailtrap and we'll just copy all of this. So all this transport, in fact, we could have copied this earlier and grab all of this. So I'll just go ahead and paste it like this. Notice here, all of the password and everything are there. These are random password, doesn't really bother much, but similarly, you can have these host and everything for other domains as well. Like for Gmail, there's different port number, obviously the author and password. I don't want to display my password here. Again, you can put this into your process.env file as well. That's totally you. Usually we go ahead and put this. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a to-do here and add these credentials to env file. So that's a to-do for you. You can actually go ahead and do this. Now this is ready. Now the next option that we saw in studies was creating a mail options. You can create it on the go as well, but I'll just go ahead and create these mail options just like this. Now in the mail options, we have a couple of things that we can get. First is from email. So whatever is your from email, you can go ahead and do that. I'll just go ahead and say hitesh@gmail.com, which is not my email. Come on. There we go. And I'll just put up a comma. Now the next is to email. So to is email. Whom to send email. We are already taking that as an input in the parameter. So I'll just go with that. And then after this, we also need to have a subject. Now the subject can be just directly verify your email, or you can actually go ahead and use that what kind of email is actually coming in. So I'll just cut this out and I'll test it based on the email type. So email type. If email type is verify, we'll say verify your email. Otherwise, we'll say reset your password. So again, we can just use these smaller variables. Now, how the email is being crafted, actually, I have written it already so that we can discuss this. So there we go. So as we saw directly, we don't have hash token. Hashed token. Hashed. We missed an H. Almost all every place. I'll update this. Hashed token, small typo. There we go. And we need to use hash token. Oh, we have hash token here. And I think here also. And now it should be happy here as well. Okay. So what we are doing is we are simply providing an email which is saying click on this domain to verify your email or to reset your password. And notice here this is going to process.env.domain. The domain name we have already set in environment variable. So it will be directly like http://localhost:3000. In case you deploy it on the domain, just environment variable needs to be updated. And then verify email $token equals to hash token. So this will be our email that we'll be having. All right, that is all what we need. The last thing is to simply send email with these mail options. So that's all. Again, this takes some time. So transporter will send an email with all the mail options. And you can go ahead and store this mail response just like this. And after this, you can simply go ahead and return this if you wish. Totally up to you. So we got this one. Let's see what all. So this one is also saying, hey, cannot find a declaration file of this one. We'll just probably install this types as well so that we get rid of these errors. All right, so quite a lot of detail talked about the mailer and how the mailer is going to work. Now, once the mailer is done, all we have to do is first create a page, or we can first, now that's a confusion. Should we take down first the APIs or should we first take down the front-end page? Let's take the APIs first. I think that makes sense. So in this, inside the user, we will be simply, now again, based on where you are landing the user, your route should be according that. But in this case, no, my bad, I'll take that back. So in this case, the route doesn't really matter. It can be any route. We need to just create a front end for verify email for that. In the backend, my API request could be anywhere because once I land there, then I'll use a use effect hook to fire a request. Okay, I'll do it that way. So I'll just right click and create a new folder. And this folder will be simply verify email, verify token. Yeah, totally up to you. I'll just right click, create a new file, and we'll just go ahead and say route.ts. Now inside the route.ts, we'll have just the request response. we have to connect with database as well because we'll be updating some fields in the database as well. And already things are there in my database, so I need to extract the values by searching through the token. All right. So I'll first and foremost will be connecting to connect. No option for connect. Nope, don't want that. @ and this one is config dbconfig / dbconfig. All right, so no matter what happens, this needs to connect. So I'll say that, hey, you connect. So database is connected now. We don't need any async or anything like that. We'll be needing the next response and request, all of that. So we'll be saying next request and next response. And we'll be needing user as well because I want to perform a search. So I'll just go ahead and say, hey, give me the user from model user model. All right, that's great. Now, once the database is connected, then I can go ahead and export my method. So I'll say export async. No, not like that. Async function. Come on. If I can write that, that would be great. Function. And this will be a post method, obviously, because we are retrieving some data or not. Request, that will be of type of next request. And there we go. All right, first try catch. We should have created a wrapper around it because this is too many try catch in the entire. But again, what can we do? Now after this, I'll just scroll this a little. There we go. Let's return a next response with again .json. Come on. Response.json. There we go. Error messages. And there should be a status code as well. Yeah, that is the one that I'm looking up for. And now next up is first and foremost, let's grab some of the tokens. So we'll be grabbing the token from request.body. So const and request body and await request.body.json. Nope, it's request.json directly. There we go. Okay. Now, once this is there, I know that there will be a token coming up for me. So I'll just go ahead and extract this token. Now, this is an approach where I'm using that there will be a front-end call who will be making a call to the API and will be able to handle this. Again, this could have taken a different route if in the verify email, I directly create a ID, the square brackets, an ID, or maybe a token with the name of token. So I can directly extract a colon token there. So again, both approaches are correct. There is nothing wrong or right like that. I would also like to see if this token is actually coming into this. It helps me to debug that later on. So there we go. Now I can see whether the token is coming it or not. I have to find a user based on the token. Just like I can find a user based on email, I can find a user based on the token as well. So I'll say find one. Yeah, find one, that is fine. And this one, this time will be finding based on the token and whose time is greater than now. So obviously, if the token time has expired in the past, whatever the time I have set there, I don't want that. So two condition needs to be true now. I have to find the token as well. And the verify token expiry should be like that. So verify token expiry comes from the model itself. So if I go ahead, verify token expiry, this should be greater than what's the current time is. So obviously in the future, I can verify. If it is already in the past, I cannot. Sorry. Little cold here, but again, don't mind that. Sorry, I cannot edit them out. All right. So now if it is there, obviously that needs to be await. And what else? We'll be storing that into a user. All right. All right, good and nice. Now what else I can do? If I don't find any user in that case, I need to take care of that scenario. So if there is no user, then in that case, return a next response, JSON error, invalid token. Yeah, that's a good response. Or we can say invalid token, or we can say user not found. Yeah, that's a debate, but we will not go in that debate. And now here, I would like to do a console log that whether I'm getting this user or not, because it will help me to debug. Later on, I can remove them, but I'll just keep it here for you to simply have this. Now, there are a lot of ways how you can actually now update this. Since you have this user, actually, you can utilize this user. But in case you want to make another database call, you have verified it now. Now you can make another database call to update this. You can use this capital user, but I will not do it because I already have a reference of this user, which is a return from this user object. So it also has some of the superpower. So I can go ahead and simply say user.isVerified. So I found the token, I found the user, everything is okay. So I need to update it. Not only that, I have to flush out my verified token as well as the time as well. Otherwise, the time will always be there. There's no point of keeping the unnecessary data. And after that, I'll just say await and then user.save. This await is super important because it will take some time to update this. And now we can actually be all happy. Now, once this is done, we can simply go ahead and say return next response, and we can probably redirect. No, I don't want to redirect. The redirection should be a job of front-end guys, so I'll not do this. Next response, we'll just send a JSON response. He can actually do things based on the response. So message, email verified, status is success. I'll actually use different messages. And I'll say message, email verified, and success. Suggestions, success true. There we go. Forgot the comma. There we go. All right. So in theory now it actually works. Everything works in theory. All right. So this should be all okay now. We should be able to send and fire an email. Okay. So how you are going to send an email? Now, that's a big question. So I think the email should be a part when somebody is actually signing up. When somebody sign up, we can actually give him a message, or we can give him a button as well that, hey, get your email, write your email, and we can provide another page for it. But I think in this case, I'll just send him an email whenever he signs up. So that makes sense. Otherwise, we have to write another page, button. Don't want to do that. Okay, where it should be. It should be a last job. So user is saved in the database. Before sending a response, we have saved the user here. Before sending the response, let's send him an email. Send verification email. So how do we do that? Now we can bring this send email. So I'll just await for it and we'll say send email. So we can bring this up. Hopefully the import is done. Send email, helpers, emailer. So okay, that's good. And there we go. We can send an email. So already this is the email we have extracted from the user body. So this will be used as to whom I want to send email. The email type is verify. So it's really bad to see this string in the all caps here. There should be an environment variable or an enumeration or a constant file for that. But anyways, I'll be just happy with this. And what would be the user ID? So now we have saved the user. So this is now useful for us and we can extract an underscore ID from it. And I think that is it. Now, in theory, at least, it should be saving, sending me an email. All right, how many errors? Nothing so far, surprising. Let's see how we can actually register another user. So I think this is it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and go and visit the profile. If we still have a user, yep, nothing. Okay. Oh, we have to get the user details. And we'll log out. So now there is nobody. Let's try to sign up another user. How many users we have? We have 1, we have 2, time for 3. So this will be 3. This will be 3 at gmail.com. And this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can put some validation for password as well, but we will not do it right now. Let's try to sign up. Processing. Come on, do it. The first time it's a little bit slower. There we go. Now, in theory, we should have something in the mail trap. There we go, 3 at gmail.com. All right, so these are testing email. Now, notice here when I click on this verify email, I can actually right click and there should be a link. Oh, there is a link, but this link is blocked. Probably. That's really bad. We need to get this email directly so that somebody can copy paste in the browser as well. We need to try it again in the mailer as well. Let's go in the mailer. This might happen to you as well. So nothing wrong. Okay. So this is email. This is somebody writing up here. So we'll just enter here and we'll say or copy paste the link below in your browser. I think that's good. And we'll add a BR. And there we go. So now I think it should be much better so that somebody at least can copy and paste the link. This man. Okay, I need to sign it up again. I saw this. This doesn't expose any email or something like that. So we'll just do this. Now, in the meantime, here we are, we can actually delete this. How do we delete it? We can delete this, confirm. I want to delete it. Let's go back here. And we have 3, time for 4. Time for registration of the 4. Okay, we don't need this. We can come back here, sign up the 4. 4, and we'll get 4@gmail.com. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sign up. And taking some time. That's okay. We got the processing here. All right. Now let's see where we have this mail trap. Okay, 4 got here. And this time hopefully we'll get better. And yep, this is much better. Oh, we got some issues here, which was saying your browser dot undefined then verify. So probably because it was a local host, that's why it's creating some issues. Because I think process.env, my bad. Actually, I know why it is giving us an issue. Because if I go ahead and check out my sample env, the domain is all caps. So it's not an issue. It's actually an issue. But anyways, it's good to have the text link as well. So it should be domain. My bad, I'm referencing the wrong variable there. That's good. All right, save this, and this should be all good. This is how real-world development works. It breaks, it fails. Let's go ahead and register another user now. Sign up. It's time for 5, and then we will have 5@gmail.com and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sign up. Processing. At least our emails are shooting. We're happy. But we have limited emails as well. We cannot just go all crazy. So 5 and 5, where you are. Okay. There we go. All right, good. And now we can click even on that. I'll not click on this, but I can actually copy paste this entire thing. We have the token and everything nice. But if I'll do this, we don't have a page which goes on to /verify email. And again, now you can see, I can just provide a link of /verify email/ and whatever the long string, and I can extract that. That's easy. But we don't have the front end part of it. So it's time. And by the way, everything is also dumping down here as well. So that's also nice that we have got all the 5, 4, all the emails. Email is going there, username, everything. Let's also verify in the database as well. Refresh, where are you? Where's the refresh option? There's somewhere refresh. Here it is, refresh option. So I want to check whether this tokens and everything is getting to my database also. So here we can see verify token and expire is also getting up here. All happy, all good. That's good, that's good. Okay, now what we can do is, next up is, okay, we need to create a front end for it. So APIs, you can go minimize. And I now need to create a simple route on the front end or the pages, which can actually do this. So I'll just close everything. That's already too confusing. All right, sign up, verify. This is inside the API. I need to create a route for the pages, which will be verify email. And again, it needs to be exactly same as what you are crafting your URL. So I'm crafting this verify email. So somebody will land up here. I'll copy this, go back, and inside the app, I'll create a new folder. The name of the folder will be verify email. That's exactly. And of course, I know what will I be creating the file name with this, which will be page.tsx. And there we go. Okay, now this is a little bit tricky, that how we are going to create this verify page. There's a little bit involvement here. First and foremost, this will be use client. That I know for sure. Use client, there we go. We need a couple of imports. So Axios obviously will be there. Axios from Axios, and we'll be needing the link to redirect the user as well, probably, or probably not. We'll still get this. So we'll have this link from next link, and we'll be needing some use effect hooks and stuff like that. So let's import them. So this will be coming up from React, and we'll be needing use effect is the one that I am looking up for first. Use effect. I'll anyway be using reuse state as well. So let's bring that. And I think that's all majorly I'll be needing. Router, will be needing it? Probably not. Anyways, so let's go ahead and define export default function, verify email page. We don't need any props in here. We can just go ahead and just close it like that. Verify email page, we don't have props. Otherwise, if we would have any props, we can just extract it like this, params, IDs, just like that, basics. Okay, we don't have it right now, so we'll just go ahead and escape this. And now, first of all, I will grab some tokens. So I need to store that token somewhere. So we need a state for that. So we'll just say token, set token, and this will not be a string. We'll not use the TypeScript functionality here. We'll just keep it empty, use state, that's like. And then based on user is verified or not, I'll show him some messages as well. So either I can just create a message like this, or I can create a variables like booleans. I can use them to verify, not verified, or I can use a message for the same. So it's totally your choice. I think I'm going to choose with the verify email. So I'll just say verified, set verified, and by default it will be false. Also, we can grab some errors as well. Maybe there are some errors on the page, so we'll just grab them as well. Error, set error. I'll just use the booleans for that as well. Right now there is no error. All right. So these are my data. Now, how can I verify this? Obviously, in order to verify, I'll need a method, and I'll call this one as verify user email. That's fine. It will obviously be async, so there is no doubt about that. We need to set up an request to an API. So let's go ahead and do a try catch for that. And in the catch part, we'll just set the error with the error or true. Yeah, true, because we are using Boolean. And then we can just do a console log as well, so that we can at least see what's going on wrong. So error, we can actually go ahead and get error dot response, because it will be, because this is going to get an Axios. So Axios might throw up some that. So response.data. All right. For this, we need to cast this error as any, otherwise it will not work. Okay. Now, next up is sending a request from Axios. All right. Axios will send a post request. Did we made it post? Did we made it post? Let me verify that again. Route. Yeah, we made it post. We made it post. So Axios.post, and where do we want to send this request? /API /users notice here, the suggestions are absolutely horribly wrong. We need to get the verify token or verify email. What is happening to my memory? And this is what we have, what we are expecting. We are expecting a token there. And the request is obviously verify email. Should have seen that already. Verify email, what we are bringing along with us, a token. So let's go ahead and grab this token. This token is given to us directly by this state. So that's nice. Let's go ahead and await for this. Await for this one, and that's it. Once everything is all done, then we can go ahead and simply say set verified to be true. Otherwise, it is already false. So that is all my method is going to be doing. All right, so now the problem is when you will be running this thing, and I'll write some of the controversial code here. Okay, so how you'll be, or when you'll be running this. Obviously, we'll be using use effect for this. And for this, we are dependent on nothing. So we want to, as soon as somebody lands on this, we will be running this. But I'll just do a small check whether there is a token or not and all of that. So if I'll just check if the token dot length, because it's a string, so I can access its length, is greater than 0, then go ahead and run this, verify user. I actually don't like this way because it's less readable. I prefer this. Whenever students actually watch this, they find it more easy, readable, so I'll go with that. Okay, there is another use effect that I'm going to run. Again, you can write this. Yeah, that's the advantage. You can go a little bit sloppy with the Next.js. It actually do all the optimization, deduping, a lot of things of the request. I don't have to worry too much. Okay, so this is what we'll be doing. Another thing which I want to do is going to be dependent on the token. So any change in the token will actually, no, I'm actually bad. Any change in the token should actually run this one. Okay, this one, I will talk about that in a second. I'll just go ahead and remove this. So let me tell you what is happening here. This is the dependency array of use effect. So use effect is a hook which automatically runs. It runs first time when the page loads. There are a couple of other ways, but we'll not go into that much. It actually automatically runs as soon as somebody comes on the page. But if somebody comes on the page and there is any manipulation in the token, then also it will run. Now, right now, nobody is filling up my token. Notice here, there is no code here which is actually filling up my token. The token is empty, will always remain empty. So I need to grab the information from the URL and update my token. As soon as my token is disturbed, that's when this dependency array is going to say, hey, something is disturbed, which is mentioned in the dependency array, and I'll run this piece of code. That's the whole flow. Now I'll come back here. I need to actually grab. As soon as somebody lands on my page, I want to extract the URL. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I'll just grab URL token. And this URL token, we saw this already, window.location, and then again, window.location dot, this will be on based on search. Once somebody is searching on that, I'll just go ahead and split it, nice and easy. Based on equals to, and then the left portion will be all 0th value of the array. Right portion is my token, so I'll be able to extract that. Not only that, I have to set this into the token. So set token will get this URL token. Now, as soon as somebody lands on this, he will be giving me the token. I'll set this token into this. This will create a chain of events. The token will be updated here. This will notify that, hey, one of your dependencies got updated. So run this method. So this is obviously going to run this method. And that's it. So I'll just shrink this. I'll shrink this and I'll shrink this. The only problem is right now we are not returning anything. So there is no page. So return, and there we go. Now, what do we want to return? Okay, we'll actually return, and I have this already with me in my notes. Yeah, I have actually saved this div class. It brings everything to the center. Easy for me. Okay, what do I want to have? First of foremost, I want to have an h1, which will have a class name, and we'll be going with the text dash for suggestions, please. Yeah, for Excel. For Excel, this will say just the verify email. Verify email or verify your email. Now in the H2, I also want to display the token so that I can see whether the token is actually coming in or not. So I'll just go ahead and grab an H2. Now inside the H2, we'll start our JavaScript, and based on whether we have token or not, we'll do something. If we have token, we'll write something. Otherwise, we'll write something. Not something, we'll write no token. Okay, what do we want to do when, oh, my bad. What do we want to do when the token is there? We want to simply display the token. So what we're going to do is, instead of this, let's use backticks, and let's go ahead and dump the token directly. And token. All right. Now also let's stylize it a little bit. It's class name. This one is going to be a little bit of padding 2. BG dash, we'll use orange. I like that color. Orange 500, and the text is going to be black. Okay, that's good. Now, based on whether the user is verified or not, we want to show him some text as well. So what we're going to do is, let's inject the JavaScript directly, and we can just go ahead and say verified. If he is verified, then obviously I want to display this. So what do we want to display? In that case, we'll just go ahead and have a div. And in the div, we'll just say, nice and easy, email verified, and you can log in. I like that. I like that. And all we need to do is close this div. All right, that is already good. I love these suggestions. So in this case, if the user is verified, then we'll optionally display him that email verified. Now you can go ahead and proceed to the login page. So /login is there, text blue. I think that's good enough. I think what can give us an issue is this A tag, because I think this is a wrong usage of A tag. This will definitely crash our application. So we'll just remove this A tag. Usage of A tag and the link tag is actually very, very dangerous. So I'll just go ahead and just clean it up like this. That is all good. Now we can similarly make a copy of this. And now we can actually go ahead and based on the error, we can display this. So we'll just display that there was an error. And then we can just ask him to do nothing. We don't want to show him anything. The text is to Excel, and the color will be BG-red 500. And yeah, the text is default going to be white, but that's okay. I'll convert that to black. Okay, so I think that is it. Now we can actually verify and go on to this page, if it works, in theory at least. So now can I go to the verify page? Oh, by the way, one thing I forgot almost. I think we need to actually do something more. Verify email. And if I go ahead and look onto this, notice here, I go back. So notice it says I cannot read the property of undefined. So if token length is 0, we shouldn't be running this. So obviously we need to verify. There are some of the steps undefined reading length. So let's go back. So what we're doing is the token is right now empty string. So that is creating some of the problems and issues on this page. All right, so let's take care of this. UseState is empty. And if the token length here, we have the token length is greater than 0, then only run this. Okay, this should be okay. Verify user email. And what in the case we are not able to grab this token? All right. So in that case, right now this is setting it to undefined. That is the problem. So let's use an OR statement to set it as back to the empty string. Come on. All right. So this should be much better approach. Okay, there we go. Now we have fixed this. Small bug happens. So right now there is no token. But there is a problem. We should actually fix that up into the middleware also, because remember, you always and always will forget about the middleware, that hey, where the things are actually matching. So go back onto the code part, open up your middleware, and also add this URL here. Although we are not matching it up with anything, but I think I'll add this one. Verify email. Now, as of now, this is okay. I'll just save this, but later on, maybe I want to add this to public page so that everybody can actually access this. Otherwise, if I add this here, it will not be verifiable. I'm not tracking this. If you don't add it here, that's not being tracked. So I want to call this as public page. So even if you don't have token, you can actually go ahead and access this. So I'll just add that, hey, path.verify email. That is also allowed to be visited without the token. So if the path is there, so this is the public path. Let me just check this again, public path and token. So redirect here. If there is not public path and the token is not there, if the public path is not there and the token, so I think this is good. All right, I'm reevaluating the things. So let's go back. Can I still access this? Yes, I can still access this. Okay, now it's time that we verify the email. Our verification should happen now. I can just go ahead and click on this in theory, and it should verify this. And we are not actually bringing the token. So sometimes what happens is when you click on this in the URL and stuff, your question mark token, all these things are not being traversed via the browser. That is why this issue actually happens. That's why a lot of companies give you this. Or you can actually provide a better URL. Notice here there's a dollar and all of that. So that sometimes gets into spam. So you can go ahead and use this as link. I can go ahead and use this. So I'm not able to grab the token. So why is it happening? Okay, so I'm going on to the verify email. Oh, my bad. So I'm just saying verify email question mark token. Now we got the token. This is a common issue that you are going to see. That when you're actually doing the development in the Next.js, this is a common issue. The development is so slow that sometimes it takes time. So yeah, this happens. Now let's see if we are able to verify the user. Let's refresh this and whether everything got a cleanup or not. Let's see, come on, give me that. Okay, I can see that the 5 is verified is false. Is verified is still false for the 5, and we're actually verifying which email. Let's just check. Okay, so probably there is some issue in the mail trap. We are verifying the 5. So 5, I think the rest of the things are going great. Let's see. Is verified false. Okay, so we got the password is verified false. The token, verified token, everything got here nicely. Let's see that if we grab the token, what we are doing in our APIs. So this is the job of our API to actually say user.isVerified, and let's grab it from the model. And is verified, I'll just copy it. Probably I'm making a mistake here. I'll just open this up, verify routes, and this should be, oh, my bad. There's a typo here. It's is verified. So bad. Anyways, no problem. We can just create a fresh user and try this again one more time. This is how the debugging works. So it's everywhere is verified. Oh, goodness. And the token names are good. Should have paid more attention. But anyways, these are small bugs. This is how you fix them. Let's try with a new user this time. I'll open this up here and let's try, we're here and we'll try with the sign up. Let's try. It's time for 6 and this one will be 6@gmail.com. Password will be 123456. Sign up the user. Processing slow, but only in the dev. In the production, it goes like ridiculously fast. The edge functions are always up, almost always up. And there we go. We got the 6. And again, this is also painfully slow. I'll just copy this time. Whether this extra dot is there? Horrible. The dot should not be there, but this actually creates a problem. So we should actually use better approach of generating the tokens. I'll just have this one. This dot definitely is going to create issues. And again, this, again, why is it having the issues? Probably with the dot. Now we have this. This dot is definitely creating the issues. So we can notice there is a little bit wrong in our approach that we are generating the tokens. The token should be just a mix and match of letters and numbers, uppercase, lowercase, that's fine. But these special characters and these dots especially, that is creating so much of the issue. Also in the development environment, serving the page actually takes some time. So you'll notice that when it actually serves the page, compiles successfully and all of that. So this actually creates a problem. So possible emitter memory leak detection will actually take care of that. But anyways, now we have this is verified false here. So that is, we are getting all of this. Now let's check whether we are actually having this properly there. All right, let's see. So we have the user 6. There we go. We can see that the is verified is true, verified. That is true in this case. So we are actually able to grab it. Now this is really a very thorough example of understanding a whole lot of things that's happening. It's really a decently complex project. We have worked on a lot of things. Now, I'll not actually do the spoon feeding to you. Yes, that is one of the bad things that a lot of people do on the online codings and tutorials and all of that. Now we have seen thoroughly that how you can actually shoot an email, the verification of the email. We have also seen how we can extract the data from the body as well. There was a reason why I did it this way. The reason is because I want to have you an assignment. The assignment is really simple. We have worked on our verify emails, verify accounts as well. Now we also want to work with the forgot password. The mechanism is simple. That again, we'll be using our mailer and mailer can shoot an email. So you have to first create a page where you can simply say, hey, send me a mail for forgetting the password. So you have to create an API for that as well. As soon as somebody sends their email and a submit button is being clicked, now it makes an Axios request. Use your node mailer to send a token to him and also send this token into a database as well. Now when somebody visits this page as well, now you can take that token in another API call, and based on this, you can actually give him a simple thing on the token. On the URL, you'll be grabbing the token. And in the body, just get here the password and the confirm password and submit button. As soon as you click on submit button, he'll be sending you the token. He'll be sending you the password and the confirm password. Based on that, first verify whether the token is actually valid or not. If the token is valid, now grab the user again based on the token and update the password field. For the password field, you have to actually encrypt the things again. So there's a lot of things you can learn and do the things. And again, I would highly, highly recommend that once you do this, do let me know on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or anywhere that I have completed the project. This will be your learning journey. Just watching the tutorial is not going to be cut through it. Now you know everything. The only thing that's lagging and missing in you is the confidence. So if you face any trouble, just reach me out on Discord, Twitter. I'll help you in understanding the code or seeing a code or something like that as I get time. But again, the goal is improve or implement the functionality of the forgot password. It's super simple. If you're not able to do it, if enough of requests are coming in, I'll do that. No problem at all. But again, I take this as a simple assignment. I highly, highly recommend that you should be actually doing this. So this was all about an introduction of Next.js. I think this was quite an in-depth introduction of Next.js. Definitely in the future, I'll be rolling out more of full-fledged, more complex projects in Next.js. If you want that, do let me know in the comment section. I would really, really love to have this one. So that's it for this video. Let's go ahead and catch up in another such video. It was great and fantastic for teaching all of you. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Do let me know in the comment section if you're enjoying such videos. I'll make them more interactive, more like just like you're sitting next to me and learning everything. I'll make them more engaging. So that's it. Let's catch up in the next one. Hit that subscribe. Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video, and welcome to this another video on Next.js. I thought we have done so much, why not to show you the deployment part and some assignment part as well. So I've added some of the assignments for you. We'll first talk about that, and then we are going to talk about how we can take this and deploy on the Vercel. Vercel is one of the great platform where you can host your Next.js application. Our database is already online in MongoDB, so we'll utilize that. Let's go ahead and try this out. Let me share my screen with you. So this is what I've added in the Next.js README file. You might have already seen that in the repo. It's nothing. It says a detailed course on Next.js. We can just actually move this here a little. And I have added what are the tech stacks that we have uses: Mailtrap, Next.js, TypeScript, Mongo, basics, nothing much big deal. And here's my YouTube channel link as well. So I've added a YouTube. I'm pretty sure you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching it somewhere else, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Apart from this, there is assignment. The first assignment is improve the UI of the application. Right now, we were focused too much on implementing the functionality part and the bare minimum basics of UI so that you can understand the flow of the application. Now, definitely integrating too much of the Tailwind, we could have done that. We could have just copied and pasted that I'll surely do that in the upcoming videos, but it doesn't really add any much value. If you request me enough in the comment section, I would definitely add some of the videos which are focused purely on Tailwind skills. So I can do that if you want to have it, let me know in the comment section. But anyways, in this one, I have skipped that. So that's your assignment to add more beautiful UI, maybe make button more beautiful, maybe use a theme for it, or maybe have better inputs. So something like that, you can have it. And also add a feature of forgot password. We have done exactly same thing in the verify email. And again, just watching the video is no benefit for you. And in case somebody's saying, hey, why didn't you do it? You should have done that. This is an incomplete tutorial. I would say probably you'll never learn programming. If you'll just watch the videos and expect me to do 100% of it, you won't be learning programming, so I'm not bothered about you. Those who are bothered about learning the programming, now is the time that you achieve it. Now, if anybody is actually completing the entire thing, just let me know your GitHub repository, or you can send me a kind of a request here, pull request, but make sure your pull request is not merging your code in my code. I don't want that. I want user to see only the code which I have written. I don't want other people, otherwise people will be confused that, hey, from where this code came in. So only after the hint, just try to add, or I can just add it just in front of you, that we can go ahead instead of the hints up here. So we'll just add your completed repositories. So we'll just go ahead and say something like this. Your completed assignments, and you can just add your links up here. So we can add here something like this, add your repo. So if you have completed everything, so you can add up your repo link here. I'll just push it again. So you can just go ahead and add a repo link here that, hey, here is my completed version of it, or probably a deployed version of it. So go ahead and add it. That kind of a pull request only I'll be accepting. If your pull request is going to make any kind of a mess, then I'll not accept it. If there is a conflict, I'll not accept it. Make sure you actually update the conflict, take the proper pull and everything. So go ahead and do that. That's your contribution in here. All right, so that's the basic of how you can do that. I have even written your forgot password hints as well, that what user needs to do. It's a 5-step process. I have given it here so that it will help you to learn all of that. All right, now this whole thing is being pushed. So let's go ahead and actually push this final README as well. I'll just add this changes, add your contribution here, here, and I'll just commit this. And we're going to push this so that this is also available there. So all right. So now everything is being pushed onto the GitHub. It's time that we actually go ahead and take it on to the Next.js Vercel actually deployment part. But before that, we need to actually create another user. I've actually removed all the previous users, so I'll just create another one just for the testing. This user will be, I'll just call this one Hitesh123, really bad. Show the password, Hitesh123. Add a built-in role of read and write any database. Not a good idea, but we'll still do it. I'm just making this up all here so that you understand that what are the security issues and concern which you should be having. So we'll just go into database and we will be connecting with a string. So I'll just copy this so that I can actually inject this in here. So I'll just copy this, go back up here, and let's go ahead and deploy this. So Vercel. And we need to bring up on all of our environment variables here. So I'll just click on project. And this one is not React, it's actually Next.js. Next.js, full stack auth. Yeah, we want to import this. This whole thing is good. Here is our environment variable. This is where we actually inject all of this. So let's go ahead and open up our environment variables. Since I've deleted everything, so I'll just go ahead and open up the sample.env. Hey, I can just close all of this. We don't need this. Sample.env. I'll just paste this into sample link. So the username that we are using is Hitesh, and the password is Hitesh123. And what you need to do further is add up your database name. So we'll just call this as next, YouTube, auth. Yeah, that's good. So the first variable that we have is Mongo URI. Copy that, enter into your domain variable. Just like this, you had your environment variables, and you don't have to do even a single thing. Paste, copy its value, paste the value here, add this up. We have one more. How can I get, yeah, here it is, one more. We'll have the token secret. Make sure your token secret is, make sure your token secret is way better than mine. I'll just add some complex token. Yeah, that's good enough. I'll add this, and we can also go ahead and add a domain. Domain, yeah, that's a crucial one, because right now the domain is, we have no idea what domain we have. So we need to come back here and add this after the deployment, because we'll get a URL. If we would be having our own domain, then there would be no problem. I can just go ahead and do this. But we need to add the environment variable a little bit later, this domain part. We'll just click on deploy. And that is it. That is it, all it takes. To deploy your application, it will start building. And if we don't have any bugs or issues, we will be able to deploy it. If we have some issues or something like that, obviously we have to debug that part. But again, there is nothing much. It will just give me a URL, and all I'm looking for is a Vercel app URL so that I can add it into my domain. As we can see, this is the domain that we have. We don't have to have ports and stuff like that. So this is taking us some time in building. The build phase actually takes some time. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should pause the video here. There's no point of unnecessarily staring the screen here. Okay, so let me pause the video. All right, so you just missed the confetti. There is a confetti that actually comes up here. So right now, notice here it says add your domain. I don't have my domain. That's why I missed out that environment variable. So let's continue the dashboard of it, where this is. So I can see my application is up and running, and this is the deployment URL. So that is what I'm looking up for. So I need to actually copy all of this, Next.js, full stack auth, then some random variable dash my username .vercel.app. I think there is a better way of actually domains. Let's just click on it, and we can edit this to have a better URL. So let's just have this. Next.js, full stack, auth, Vercel app. Yeah, we'll just copy all of this. And now we need to actually add this into environment variable. So there is environment variable. Without this, the thing is not going to work. So we have our token secret Mongo. We need to actually provide domain. And then the value of it. So whatever the domain, wherever you are deploying, it needs that. This is what we are using in our mailing services, so make sure you actually get that. And also there is a issue here that if you'll go into the source and inside the helpers and in the mailer, I have actually deployed my own user ID and password here, but I have actually deleted that account, so it doesn't really work anymore. But still, make sure you actually use this to do, add these into the credential and env. That's a security concern here. But anyways, so I'll just go ahead and say that, hey, this is add another one. No, save this one. So please define the name for your environment variable. Accidentally added that one. So we have all these domains and tokens and everything. Now our app should be there. So now, in theory, at least, we should be having this being deployed. And it takes some time. So there we go. We can sign up and we can log in. That's good. And we'll just grab Hitesh and we'll be saying Hitesh@google.com, which is not true. And we'll be saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, very secure password. We'll do the sign up. Obviously, our mail will fail because that doesn't exist. So that part of the code is not going to work. It's saying processing, taking some time. And we got this sign up because our mailing is actually failing. Otherwise, we would have got redirected there. But in theory, at least, we should be getting some of the users in the documentation here, or the document. So there we go. Obviously, we didn't got properly redirected everything, but we are getting this. The reason for that is because in this portion, we are having a bug, which is intentional. I didn't want to expose my credentials. Otherwise, we would have seen that everything is going nice and easy. So now one more assignment for you is extract these user ID and password, put that into environment variable so that we can actually inject them there. That would be really, really nice. But now you know that how you can actually have your application and stuff like that. We can log in and we can go ahead and say hitesh@google.com. And we should be able to get this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We should be able to log in, processing, login. And the login, now we are getting this. So get user details. I'm able to get my user details, hopefully. There we go. And I can visit the profile as well. This is working fine. I can go back and hit the logout button. Let me see that if we are getting this token as well. Inside this and application and cookie. And there we go. We got the token. This is how the real world application works. And we can hit the logout. And this should be taking us back. Only thing that's not working is our mail. And we know why it is not working. In the code part, as I always say, it's important to know how your code is working, but it's also important to know that why your code is not working, which is the part of the flow that might be broken. This actually helps you to understand and debug a lot faster because you understand your code in and out. And that's what I always focus, that please go ahead and understand the part that it's not always about working code. It's also about the ability to understand that which portion of my code is causing the bug or issue. As the application will grow larger, which surely we'll see later on, you'll understand that, hey, there is so much more to learn and so much more to understand. But this was a fun deployment part. Told you, deployment is super easy. It's actually fun. So in this video, you have learned how you can deploy, use your net environment variables, some of the issues that we have that you can fix up there, and can actually make a pull request that, hey, my repository is now all good and perfect, Hitesh. Can you add this into the README? Again, I repeat this, all those people who will be sending an unmindfully these pull requests which actually merge your code, I will not accept that. I'll write a comment below that hey, you didn't understood the video. But those who will be just sending me the pull request where there is a link of your repo in the README file only, I'll happily accept that. And maybe thousands and thousands of people will be able to check out your repository, that what's your version and your implementation of the assignments that we have done. So be cautious. Don't just mindlessly send the pull request. Be cautious about that. And in case I miss your pull request or something, let me know on the LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, wherever you like. That's it for this one. Let's call this one as an end for this series officially. I'll definitely make more videos, so do check out and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you up in another such video.